Today we're going to go over all the Candace stuff, all the developments in Charlie Kirk. There's a whole bunch of other people that have added a lot of important information, leaks, digging, and investigation to the story that's going to add to the picture that's being painted right now about what's going on with Charlie Kirk's assassination, the investigation, what's going on with Turning Point USA, what's going on with Erica, what's going on with Candace, what's going on with the internet coming after Candace, trying to break it all down.
Conspiracy theories are entering a dangerous...
Information is the oxygen of the democracy.
There's so much evidence out there that even if less than 1% is true, that would be enough to collapse the current paradigm and change the whole planet.
I've been gone for the last 3 days, if you didn't hear. So I've been watching, but I've also been away, not commenting on everything, and trying to keep up with everything because a lot has happened. And on Tuesday when Candace came back, there seemed to be a swarm of people worried that she'd sold out all of a sudden, that Erica had made her some offer and that she couldn't be trusted anymore. And we'll get into my reasoning and everything that I think about that. But I suspect that that was a narrative pushed by shills that then a lot of regular people got swept up in. It was a very effective campaign there. And I suspect that that is propaganda, very carefully crafted to try to shake your convictions and your questions, and then magnified, amplified by all of the usual shilly influencers. You can always tell what's going on when you look at the responses from various people and how they are parroting different narratives. But when I watched Candace's Tuesday stream, her first stream back since talking to Erica in private for 4.5 hours, I felt like we had a bunch of new information added to the ledger, a bunch of very useful data points to add to the data set to help all us other journalists do our jobs and cross-reference things and get a little bit more accountability for what is really going on and what TPUSA is saying is going on and what various other people are saying is going on. And I'll get into all of that. We've got a Green Beret sniper with some very wild allegations about leaks that he's gotten from the CIA about the FBI interfering with the investigation and shutting down CIA inquiries, shutting down inquiries into foreign involvement. We've got some great commentary on some of the stuff Candace revealed about the bullet, allegedly, coming from Valhalla VFT. We got a whole bunch of different clips. This is going to be a long stream. We're going to try to go through everything in relatively granular detail and watch a bunch of clips, comment on a whole bunch of it, and hopefully give some context, at least give you my perspective, sort of halfway in, halfway out, what I see, what I think's going on. As always, you should think for yourself. You shouldn't trust me. You shouldn't trust Candace. You definitely shouldn't trust people like Tim Pool or Steven Crowder or Ben Shapiro or anyone else. You should think for yourself, and you should look at a wide variety of sources. You should do your own research, and you should come to your own conclusions. And you should always keep your mind open to other theories and to the possibility that there are bad actors in the space. And just, stay humble and remember that this is extremely complex and there are multiple layers of games being played beneath the scenes here, I presume. And we're very likely looking at some sort of government cover-up of possibly some sort of military assassination operation. And all of that comes with extreme complexity that us as regular people, as regular citizens, have a very limited window into. And we can judge it based upon historical context. We can judge it based on who's saying what. You can judge it based on research that you do. But ultimately, it's a very muddy area right now to try to unpack and to try to figure out what's going on. But today we're going to try to do our best. And we'll see what comes of it. Once I'm done with all this, I'd be curious to hear if you guys agree or disagree, if you think I'm crazy, or if you think this adds some good context. Because I think that this week the ball is moving way down the field. And Candace has made it clear that she's dropping shitloads of stuff every day this week because she's getting ready to go on break. And I think she wants to I think she's just fed up with it. And the propaganda is reaching a fever pitch. TPUSA seems to be maximally fearful right now. Everything seems to be at a very important nexus point, which has a lot to do with how Candace is doing what she's doing, the way she's doing it. But it also has a lot to do with what everyone else is doing and what's going on. And I expect that this week is going to just continue to be wild in this investigation. And I expect that the Christmas holiday is going to not be quite so quiet as one might expect. So, welcome to the live stream. Welcome to Twitch. If you're new to Twitch, brief explanation of how Twitch works. Twitch is similar to YouTube, but very different in a couple of key ways. I like hanging out here because it's a smaller community. We have a more controlled chat. I can actually interact with the chat more and see what you guys are thinking and saying. Twitch will run ads over the stream, and I'll still be going behind the ad. It's just how Twitch does it. It incentivizes kind of like live viewership, and it incentivizes subs. And on Twitch, a sub is like $5 a month or $6 a month, and you get ad-free on each channel you subscribe to. So if you subscribe to me, you'll get no ads. People will gift subs in the chat, and if you get gifted a sub by some random person in the chat, say thank you, because they're legends. Stacy is our all-time legendary sub gifter. I don't know if she's here today or not. But this whole stream will be viewable after the fact here on Twitch. So don't worry. You can always go back and rewatch it. If you have to go to work or you have to just pop out, don't worry. It'll be reviewable here. And this one we're going to clip and we're going to put on YouTube as well. So don't stress it. If you have a Amazon Prime account, Twitch is owned by Amazon. So you get one free Twitch subscription per month with your Amazon Prime account. So if you're only here to hang out with me and the homies, and you have an Amazon Prime subscription, just Google, how do I use my Amazon Prime Twitch subscription? And it'll walk you through. It's very simple to use that free Twitch subscription to get ad-free on my channel. So that's all the housekeeping. Welcome back. I've been traveling. It's good to be back. Thanks for the hype and checking in on me while I was gone. Yeah, Twitch did not send a notification today. For the second stream, we did a stream earlier today that we did get a notification out for. That stream was fun. That was a good time. But I needed to have breakfast, and now we're back. And we're about to dive in for a long time here. We got a lot to cover. But I want to start with our boy Lionel. I've heard of Lionel before, but I've not watched Lionel before. And Lionel's hilarious. Lionel seems like such a character. And I just thought he had some really perceptive commentary on what's going on with Candace right now. I don't have any context on who Lionel is or, the bigger picture around Lionel. I'm not like endorsing everything Lionel's ever done. I don't know what he's done. Maybe he's awesome. Maybe he's not. But his commentary on this, I think, is really astute and perspective. So we're going to open with a little clip from Lionel before we jump into the meat of the story.
Institutions like TPUSA don't invite people they can safely ignore. They invite people whose questions and whose inquiry and whose focus are spreading faster than the official answers, and whose refusal to back down threatens, again, this thing called narrative control. Candace Owens walked into that room already holding all the leverage, all the cards, because she didn't need the meeting to validate her inquiry. The inquiry was already alive, and that matters right now extremely critically because it sets the entire tone. Erica Kirk and Turning Point needed the meeting to slow the momentum, to calm donors and signal some kind of order or the semblance of order. And Candace needed only clarity. She didn't need this. And that imbalance, by the way, that decided everything before the first question and the first exchange. What gives Candace her power over anything else is not volume or theatrics. It's discipline. She listens. She presses. She refuses to confuse politeness with truth or access with authority. And throughout the entire conversation or during this confab, she does something institutions deeply resent and fear. She keeps the story open. Every time an answer seems to resolve one issue, she moves calmly to what still remains unresolved, to something else that doesn't align. She accepts acknowledgments. She accepts facts without really allowing them to function as absolution. Okay? She's very good at this. And she distinguishes this thing about suspicion from certainty. Without surrendering either. That's not recklessness. It's method. And when these communications are admitted, it doesn't allow the admission to erase bigger questions and bigger inconsistencies. Let me just explain this to you. This is critical stuff, my friends.
Right? I recommend you watch the whole video from Lionel. He's had 3 recent ones that are all really spot on, intellectual, perceptive, breaking open the method by which this is all happening, as well as the significance of certain pieces of evidence and events. But it's really important to understand, or to try to understand, the position that Candace is in right now, in order to get an appreciation for how she's going about this right now, because she is not like the rest of us. She is not in a position like the rest of us. Even me, who is in this media space with a large platform, I'm not even in a position anything like her at all. Even if we had the same size platform, she would be in a different position just by the virtue of how much of the spotlight of this investigation is trained on her. And so the method that she goes about this inquiry with is extremely delicate. And I think that the way that she's doing it is just right. As Lionel said, she doesn't confuse suspicion with certainty. She allows herself the journalistic privilege to continue to ask questions without erring into the arena of outright accusations that will get her into trouble, so that she can stay out of trouble and continue the reporting. And she takes statements from someone like Erica or Andrew Colvett or TPUSA, whoever. She takes those as just what they are. Factually, they are an admission from that person at that time of this thing. But that is not the same as final proof of the true nature of that statement. And so when she comes back from her meeting with Erica and just gives you the information that Erica told her, I think a lot of people interpreted that as, oh my gosh, Candace just bought everything that Erica sold her. That's not at all what happened. Candace was gifted everything that Erica tried to sell her, and she took it all for free. And then she turned around and gave it all back to us to say, here's some new receipts. Not receipts that what Erica says is necessarily true, but receipts to say that Erica Kirk on Monday, December 15th, I think it was, said these things as the CEO and representative of Turning Point USA. And that is wildly significant because a lot of it directly contradicted past TPUSA statements. Some of it opened up whole new avenues of questioning, and some of it seemed to sort of put to rest some things. But when you look with subtlety, you realize that actually it mostly just leaves doors open in every direction. So let's get on to Candace's Tuesday show and watch a couple of those clips, and we'll go through each one and we'll discuss each one. And then we'll move on to yesterday's show where she dropped a bunch of new evidence, allegedly. And then we'll get on to other corroborations and examinations by other expert witnesses. Some directly relating to Candace and some in a whole other direction.
Oh, this is the entire reason we are doing this. We've been looking at the situation going, why can't Turning Point USA just answer basic questions? And I can tell you guys that yesterday for 4 hours and 30 minutes, there were no rules. They said you can ask us any question that you want, anything that's on your mind, which I appreciated. And some of you guys are thinking, who is they? Who is they? It's the Jews, obviously. Just kidding. It's Justin Strife. Justin Strife was in the room. It was just Justin Strife and Erica. George joined me just for the beginning portion of the conversation because he had that thing going on that I told you on the 15th all day. He was in a conference. And then I brought my cousin Mia, the one that has a really bad attitude. I just bring her there for vibes. I think it just confuses people. They're like, I don't understand. What's this person doing
Totally how Candace is. 100%.
here? And the reality is she's like always just listening to Cardi B music. But she's my cousin and I always have her around. And so that was it. She was kind of sitting a little bit away, but at the table it was really just the four of us until George left. And I will be honest, I did not know what to expect going into the room. I did not know.
But let's be honest. None of us expected Erica to go there and then just like tell Candace, oh, secretly I've thought it was Israel all along, and here's all the evidence, and I'm surrounded by Israeli operatives, and I'm against them all. I'm on your team, Candace. Here's all the lies, TPUSA. That was never going to happen. That was not what was ever going to happen. Even if you are on the side of thinking Erica Kirk is great, that still was never what was going to happen. But if you've been paying attention to the reporting about Erica Kirk, then you pretty damn well knew that was not going to happen, right? And Candace knew that too. And yes, I know. How can I skip her iconic intro? It was pretty iconic. Dancing to the Jew music was pretty fucking funny.
If they were going to be open, I didn't know what Erica's energy was going to be like, if it was going to be more of an argument, if there was going to be legal threats. You guys were telling me not to drink water, so I didn't drink water. Well, I brought my own water, but I didn't drink that water too. It was a lot. There's a lot going on, okay? And the conversation started with just...
I sort of suspected there might be legal threats. That was sort of my suspicion. I couldn't really square why the hell they were asking for this meeting in the first place, other than that they're coming from a position of weakness, and they're hoping to, like, leverage girl time to... Like, I don't know what the fuck they thought they were going to accomplish here.
Strife very sensibly saying, what are we looking to accomplish here? Like, what is the actual aim of this conversation? And he was pretty clear, and Erica was very clear, that they were sort of most upset with what obviously a bit of a fever pitch, what I tweeted, that it was a godforsaken company and people should not give money to it. And I have to own that. That's aggressive. That is actually aggressive in the retrospect. I was very frustrated. And
I think what they must have been hoping to achieve is they must have been under the false assumption that Candace, like most people, would be like a normal person and sort of cave to the pressure and not be so focused and diligent in the moment when it like really matters. And that then they would sort of be able to diffuse her shit a little bit. Meaning that they must not have realized the kinds of situations that Candace has dealt with, the kinds of experience with high-profile people that Candace has interviewed and talked to and dealt with in the past. This was nothing for Candace. She was very used to this kind of an inquiry, and there was no emotional pressure or intensity that was going to stop her from asking her questions. Okay? She's been through the fire plenty of times. And so I'm not surprised that this is the report we got back about it all.
I don't know. I felt like we weren't getting any answers and there were so many lies. And then I was getting attacked for asking all meaningful questions that was within their capacity to answer. And I told you, I definitely, my problem in life is that I can rise to anger very quickly. I shared with them that I really felt like I was under attack for telling the truth from the very beginning, like casually when I mentioned the Catholicism thing. Like, what was that about? I was like, look,
and so there's no point when Candace goes into this meeting, there's no point for her to go in adversarially. That is not the posture that she should be taking. That posture only gives TPUSA more ammunition, only makes her look less like a journalist and more like an angry friend that has a vendetta, right? She's a journalist doing journalism, and it's important that she maintains the posture of journalism. And the posture of journalism is neutral and unbiased, receptive to information, but not jumping to conclusions, right? She should have been recording, but that was against the rules. And journalists are no strangers to off the record or unrecorded or partially record conversations. That's very normal for Candace. Very normal for anyone. I think there's one other little bit of intro concept from her second day, and then we'll get into more clips.
So I've kept a lot of cards close to my chest, and truly it is because I have understood throughout this entire process that we need to separate the wheat from the chaff. Like, of course, not every single person is bad at Turning Point USA. We don't have every single person that's bad that works for the FBI or the NSA. There are good guys everywhere, and there are bad people everywhere. So when somebody's telling you everyone's good or everybody's bad, you should not believe that. Well, get ready, guys. Buckle up. Where do we begin? This is what I would say is clearly a federal disaster.
You guys said to watch Jesse on Fire's show from today. That looks like a spicy thumbnail. I'll check that out later. But for now, we're going to get into some of the things that some of the receipts that Candace brought back with her, essentially. Some of the things that Erica said that are on the record now, and then some of the evidence that she brought to the table yesterday.
This portion, because I didn't get to watch the interview in its entirety, and we were pulling clips because a lot was coming out very quickly, but there was a portion that was going around that was viral, and it was Erica saying that she had Charlie's phone and that Charlie never texted anybody the night before saying that he thought that they were going to kill him. And that obviously reflected poorly on me because I was the one who said that he did, in fact, text multiple people the night before. And then I went on Jimmy Dore.
This part is fucking shady. This part sounds shady as shit, right? And again, it's not Candace's place to call Erica Kirk out to her face, because partially you want to keep Erica talking. You want to keep Erica on friendly exchange terms so that she'll just keep talking, right? One of the most important stratagems is when your enemy's making a mistake, don't stop them. Stacy is a legend. Stacy in the chat gifting a ton of subs. Thanks, Stacy. And so if Erica's just going to come in here and start offering information to Candace doesn't want that to stop. Damn, everybody that just got a sub from Stacy, say thank you. 100 subs. Stacy, you're a total legend. Really appreciate you. But the other thing about this exchange around the text messages is the context of what Erica did and didn't assume, what she did and didn't look at. See if you can pick this up.
On Friday, Jimmy Dore's show, and I clarified, I said, Andrew Colvett told me specifically that he was one of the people that received this text message. So I got that first person. I didn't get that from a source. I got that directly from Andrew Colvett. And then somebody who had access to Dan Flood's communications said that Dan Flood similarly received a text message. They owned that right away and explained, Erica said that she has Charlie's phone. She's looking at his iMessages. And it turns out that he, like everybody else, communicates on Signal. He communicates on Telegram. And that those when she heard me say that, they then went and looked. And yes, that what I said was true.
So you mean to tell me that Erica has lived in this life for years? That she was Charlie's wife for years? That she founded a international charity orphanage when she was 17? She was collaborating with the military. She's been doing all these political things. And she had no knowledge of how Signal and Telegram work? You mean to tell me that Charlie's wife never had any understanding that he used Signal and Telegram? And like, if she was just like a ditzy, like cute wife that has no sort of like masculine qualities, no leadership qualities, like if she was someone other than Erica Kirk, then maybe I would believe that. Maybe she's the kind of Christian wife that just like does fully female things and stays totally out of it and is totally uninvolved and is just a sweetheart. But that's not who Erica Kirk is at all. That's not the type of relationship that we've been led to understand that they had. She herself came out in the first days and said that Charlie told her everything. She knows everything. That's a quote from Erica, more or less, from when she joined the Charlie Kirk show days after he was killed. She's not a dumb housewife. And now she stepped in as CEO, so she damn well better understand encrypted messaging apps. And theoretically, she would even understand that they aren't all that safe after all at this point. Yeah, we're going to check out James's video about her later. But you know what I'm saying? So it's like, first the excuse is, oh, I looked at his text messages, at his Apple SMS messages, and I didn't see anything like that. You mean to say that your husband was assassinated under very suspicious circumstances and you didn't go and check the encrypted messaging apps that are right there on his phone until after you got called out directly? And key phrasing here, Candace called out directly that Andrew Colvett had received a very specific message under the pretext that she had substantial knowledge of what the wording was and what that was. So there is more context around Colvett's message. Dan Flood's message, it sounded like she'd gotten secondhand and she didn't know exactly what the wording was. And you notice how the way that Erica addressed Colvett's message and the way that Erica addresses Dan's message is really different here.
Andrew Colvett received a message the night before, and Dan Flood received a message the night before. Now, they asked me if I had actually like a concrete a copy of what Dan Flood got the night before, and I said no. If somebody told me what it said, which was almost exactly what Andrew said.
I wonder what Erica would have said if Candace had claimed that she had a copy of Dan's message. Do you think that if Candace had said, yes, I have a screenshot of Dan's message, do you think that then Erica would have said what comes next?
Which is, they're going to kill me. Andrew did not know who they were, that he was referring to were, but they clarified that the message that Dan Flood received said the left is going to kill me. So I can't confirm that one way or the other. I have to trust them on that because I did not see that concrete message. I was told that it said they.
Right? And maybe it did say the left. I don't know. But it's interesting that the one that said the left is the one that is more obscure and likely to never come out. Quite the coincidence, right? And you notice how Candace framed it. She told you what was said, and then she said, I can't confirm that either way. I just have to trust Erica on that. Translation, that's only what Erica said. That's all it is. That's what Erica said. And now that's on the record as what Erica said.
Now, obviously, we discussed the moment, and I'm like,
that's the end of that clip. We watched this one.
That's fair to clear that up. Now, I did not at all recant any of my suspicions, and I understand people disagree with me.
And did you notice how, though, all the Zio shills were all over Twitter, like reposting clips of this, being like, Candace walks back all of her positions. No, she didn't. She didn't walk back any of her positions. She very specifically did not walk back any of her positions. She just reported what Erica said about her positions, and in some cases, Erica corroborated her positions directly. Let's not forget that until recently, Candace was crazy wrong. Candace needed to be institutionalized. Candace's husband needed to get control of her and shut her up for claiming that Charlie had texted the day before that they were going to kill him. And now we have it straight from Charlie's wife that Candace was not lying. You see how that works? Holding cards close to your chest while you let everyone expose themselves.
About particular people at Turning Point USA. I communicated what I communicated in front of the whole world. My skin crawled after I spoke to Carroll Farnsworth, the person who took the cameras down. He lied to me several times. I explained to them, which felt good to have that direct communication, how Carroll lied multiple times, and that I did not understand why he was there that day. They echoed what he said. They defended what he said, that they were trying something new that day, that they typically live stream, which is what Carroll said. They typically live stream. And I said, every college event. Well, they said, well, yeah, they live stream the events that are tour stops, but they don't live stream like the outside prove me wrong type events. And that was something that was new and it required Terrell. And I said, even if that was all real, if that was all true, I still didn't feel good about the conversation that I had with Terrell. And I can't ignore my gut about the many.
Remember, Terrell Farnsworth appeared to have lied, at least, about his original intent in taking out the SD cards. First story we got, I believe, was that he was afraid people were going to steal them. So he took the SD cards, but not the cameras, not all the expensive equipment. Multi-$1,000 cameras. He just left those, but he took the SD cards. Then we got the clarification that no, the police told him to do that. But then the videos came out that showed the timeline of him filming himself, clarifying that there was no police officer that told him to do anything. There was no timeline for that. So then the story changed again, more recently, to be, oh, well, he took the SD cards out because he was afraid people would steal them. And then the police asked him for the SD cards later, so he gave them to them. You see? You see how when you get people's statements on the record at the moment, you trap their lies in later. They get trapped in with what they've said already. And this is why you have a right to remain silent, because anything you say can and will be used against you. And you never know how one thing you said, 3 weeks ago is going to hem you in when you try to maneuver out of your lie later, when more evidence comes out. Especially when you don't know what evidence is already out and being held by someone like Candace Owens.
Little lies that he told. I thought the video he recorded was weird. I know he comes from a very powerful family. I personally do not trust him. And
I don't know about Terrell Farnsworth's very powerful family. I need to read more into Terrell Farnsworth's very powerful family, apparently.
I obviously do not like the fact that I said, Tyler Boyer lied about this thing and came up with an excuse and said, well, Terrell was asked to take the camera down. That's the reason, he said on Twitter, because the police wanted him to take it down and secure the footage. And I said, I know that's not true. And they said, well, after all of that, after he took the cameras down, there was a police officer or Fed, whoever it was, that spoke to him and asked him to secure the footage. Well, that makes sense, but it's not a reason for why he took it down immediately. It makes sense that as you're investigating, you're going to say, who's got the footage? Let's lock it down. But it didn't make sense to me that Tyler Boyer lied about it. And I don't trust Tyler Boyer. And that is never going to change. Similarly with Rob McCoy. I
am not surprised at all that Candace said all of this directly to Erica's face. Candace is a very direct person, and she has no qualms about telling it like it is the way she sees it to whoever's face. She's done it to Trump. She's done it to Ye. She's done it to people way more intimidating than Erica Kirk.
My skin crawl. I can't explain it. I look at him and he's a bad person and nobody can make me feel one way or the other about that. I was surprised to learn, and this kind of gets into, I guess, us not knowing the inner workings at Turning Point USA, that Rob McCoy actually does not work with Turning Point USA in any capacity.
Right? Apparently, Rob McCoy doesn't work at Turning Point USA in any capacity, despite them letting him go on claiming as such, more or less, for months. No clarification until they are way out on the back foot and need to do something. Because everyone that was doing research into it, myself included, was turning up the fact that Rob McCoy helped found Turning Point USA Faith. Right? I remember doing that research. And so where's the shift? Was it that he had been involved and then they scrubbed all that? Or was it a bunch of just false journalism hanging out there on the internet? Because to me, just my opinion, it looks a lot more like Rob McCoy has been jettisoned and they have washed their hands of that as much as possible and claimed that he never worked there under any capacity, because there's too many eyes on Rob McCoy and his operation has been exposed. That's what that looks like to me. I could be wrong, but that's what it looks like. Yeah. So Nate looked for Mikey and his dad on TPUSA's website and they're not there. Isn't that interesting? See what I'm saying? Is a lot got done. A lot came out of this meeting, and a lot came out in her Tuesday episode when apparently everyone felt betrayed.
And so him communicating as he has done, like, I'm the pastor, I'm this, I'm that, it's just not real. Like, that is not real. And we should know that that's not real.
But is it Israel? Because it might be Israel.
When he says that, call him out on that separately from Turning Point USA. I was operating under the assumption that he worked for Turning Point USA. And I said, if obviously that's wrong, I'm happy to correct that. But also, what were we to assume when he hit the stage at the memorial and said, I'm America's pastor, and then had the Wikipedia updated and said, well, I'm assuming he had it updated because who else would do that he started Turning Point USA Faith.
Right? It was on his fucking Wikipedia page that he helped found TPUSA Faith. A very suspicious organization with all kinds of ties to the New Apostolic Reform movement, to Ziklag, to all these Zio donors and Zionist Christians infiltrating the Christian faith. Yeah, they think we're stupid.
So I guess, to be clear, we were just wrong about that. And I will have a lot more to say about...
And see, when she says we were wrong about that, what she's saying is, okay, whatever you say. If you say he never worked there, cool. I wonder what sermons Alley Files has saved on her hard drive from Rob McCoy. I wonder what content Baron Coleman has saved on his files about Rob McCoy talking about TPUSA Faith. I wonder what past words just got trapped in this new reality where Rob McCoy never worked for TPUSA under any capacity.
Rob McCoy, and where I believe he fits into a lot of things. So I'm not letting up on that. Now, one piece of this where I still don't understand it.
Oh, yes. Here we go.
One piece of this where I still don't understand it, and the magic bullet. Okay. Now, we all recall what happened. I casually say on the show, hey, I saw the footage. There was no blood. And honestly, when I said it, I didn't process how big of a deal that was with the 30-06. Very quickly, what happens is Andrew Colvett whips up this tweet about what happened with the bullet, and he said he wanted to address all the discussion that was being had about the online chatter. I'm obviously paraphrasing here. He says, I apologize, it's going to get graphic, but he spoke with the surgeon. The bullet should have gone through. The surgeon then explained.
I'm going to skip through a bit of her reading his tweet.
Through, it likely would have killed those standing behind him too. And we were just like, that kind of was like the beginning of the WTF.
That was where a lot of the military people that were weirded out by the wound, that was where they lost it. That's where a lot of conspiracy theorists were born, because that's some bullshit.
Right? I feel like that was kind of the beginning of it. And immediately people in the comments responded to Andrew, and he said, this individual said, this post is so fake as it would violate HIPAA. Like, there's patient privacy.
Rest assured, I wouldn't have posted without full permission. Quote Andrew Colvett. Now we're being told that that was an abject lie. At this point, if Andrew Colvett isn't fired, I'm confused. If Andrew Colvett is not fired and investigated, I am confused. Because Andrew Colvett has just completely defamed Turning Point USA. And he is their spokesperson. He is supposed to be their PR representative. And he's now been caught multiple times lying on the internet about very important things. Making up quotations, making up information, claiming that he has full permission, which would imply from Erica, as well as the surgeon, when none of that was true.
Can't just call up the surgeon. And then Andrew Colbert replies and says, rest assured, I would not have posted without full permission. Now, he said he spoke to the surgeon, and they confirmed that Andrew spoke to the surgeon, but that they did not know that he was going to write that tweet. They did not know that he called up the surgeon.
Right? Chat just said, watch, he won't be fired. Exactly. Get their statements on the record and then watch what they do. And slowly, the record records everything that happens. And that's the thing about lies, is they trap you. Lies trap you within them. And when everything is this public, when you're running a public charity with a public-facing media arm, with a gigantic public inquiry into your actions, lies defeat themselves over time, as long as you let lies keep lying.
Surgeon. So, like, it very much came across to me like Andrew was just flying by the seat of his pants. I don't know. Like, he was just flying dark on me. And I was like, that seems very strange to me, because why would a surgeon do that? Like, the first thing the surgeon should say is, I can't speak to you.
The number of things that Colvett has done now are crazy. He's also the one that called Candace and said, you and Tucker need to lay low. Someone's going to try to kill you. But never told them who it was. He's been out here feeding information, leaking information. He's also the one that leaked the information about the autopsy to Stephen Gardner. Letting out this autopsy information, which we'll hear from Nate in a minute, totally fucked up the story even more. Especially now that they've walked their story back around to say it was a frangible round. And we'll get to Nate in a second to explain that.
I don't even know, in theory, Andrew wasn't even there when Charlie died. I don't even know why the surgeon even knows this guy, actually. Maybe he hung around after, but, you know, Andrew was not one of the people that got into the hospital or anything like that. So this is quite literally the PR guy who's calling the surgeon. And so that just seems very inappropriate for a person to do, period. And I would say it was kind of the beginning, but that was what I got from that. Now, obviously, we discussed the security. I brought up Brian Harpole, this interview with Sean Ryan, and I think we can believe Turning Point when they say that they did not approve of this. They had no idea he was going on Sean Ryan. I think that's pretty clear.
I'm under the impression, allegedly, I believe that Brian Harpole and his security team were fired before that Sean Ryan interview ever aired. I was given information by a source that Harpole was fired after the giant riot broke out at, I think it was UPenn, if I remember correctly, like 2 or 3 days before that interview. And Harpole didn't mention anything about that in the interview. He represented himself as though he was TPUSA's guy. And I don't have confirmation on whether that's true or not. But that would line up with, like, Erica saying we had no idea he was doing that interview. Yeah, there was like a huge riot outside of a TPUSA event. It got super gnarly. There was blood drawn, protesters, all sorts of stuff. It was crazy.
If he works there anymore. So
oh, no, it was Berkeley. It was UC Berkeley, I'm pretty sure.
Kind of him. Just getting out there and perhaps trying to rescue his own reputation. And I think that only made his reputation worse, actually, because people rightfully sensed that he wasn't telling the truth in that interview, that he was being cagey, that he was saying things that didn't make any sense.
This is the UC Berkeley event I'm referring to. Violence breaks out at a Turning Point USA event on UC Berkeley campus. September 10th. No, that was when that's Charlie being killed. Monday, November 10th.
Again, you constantly have these people that believe, like Brian Harpole, that with enough performance, he can sit down and you're just going to convince people that this is real. And this is just a different time. Like I said, these TikTokers are out of control. They will check you in 4 seconds. Okay. Things that the biggest piece of this that I want to communicate, and that I did communicate to them, and I hope that they took me seriously on this, or rather that they take my strong advice on this.
Yeah, so the Sean Ryan interview aired on November 17th. And I got intel at the time from a source inside claiming that Brian Harple had been fired in the week leading up to this interview, possibly in direct response to this absolute disaster at UC Berkeley, but probably in a bigger picture than that. It's hard to say. I don't know if that's true or not. That's allegedly, but that's what I was told.
I said one of the reasons why I really want to sit down is because I want to walk out of here and feel confident saying to my audience, hey, like, there's stuff going on behind the scenes, but Tyler Robinson shot Charlie Kirk.
I think this part probably got misconstrued a lot. Probably not by actual viewers, because actual viewers aren't retarded. But I could see how you could clip this and try to make it look that way. But what she's saying here is the journalistic stance of, I'm not trying to create a conspiracy theory. I'm just trying to report on the facts. I would love it if the facts aligned with the narrative that the feds are pushing, because that's the world we all want to live in, where the feds are not lying to us every fucking day. But we know that's not the world we live in. And so she's saying it would be great if that was the way it is, but that's not the way it is. So
like that more will come out, but you can take it from me that this is what happened. I was looking to achieve that because there's been a lot of signaling from various people, some people who are experts, some people who have been involved in cases, that there's obviously going to be stuff that the public does not have access to. And so it is at least plausible that they have seen very clear footage that we've been asking for of Tyler Robinson getting up there and taking the shot. Like, they have access to UVU cameras. So I was hoping to hear that. And
we know that UVU cameras have footage of that shooter, of whoever that person was on the roof. They have footage of whatever happened on that roof, the whole time. There's no reason why that camera should have not captured the shot. So it's reasonable for Candace to assume that TPUSA might have seen the shot. That is not the case, apparently.
I said that. I
this
want
is
to
huge.
hear why people feel so confident at Turning Point USA that Tyler Robinson is the guy. And at this point, they elected to call the lawyer.
And the lawyer should have told them to shut the fuck up and move on to the next question, honestly. The lawyer should not have let them say what they said next.
You know, their lawyer, who is involved in this case, one of the lawyers that's involved in this case, there's always a team of lawyers, especially for something like this. And what I got from the lawyer did not make me feel that Tyler Robinson shot Charlie Kirk. It did not make me feel confident that he didn't or did shoot Charlie Kirk. I was very surprised by this. He spoke a very long time. I asked, can you share with me what it is? And I said, when you share this with me, I will not say what that thing is. If we want to protect the integrity of the case, I'm not gonna. If you say we've got the footage of him taking a shot, I promise I won't say that to the audience.
And that's standard practice for a journalist. Is there are lots of conversations that happen off the record, and you have to preserve that. You have to respect off the record, even if it's the most important bombshell of your life, even if it's the most deep, gnarly source of your life. Candace has to protect her sources, even if that source is TPUSA's lawyer, Erica Kirk herself. But she wouldn't come out and say this. This is not her lying about what happened. This is her telling you the truth, that they didn't try to force her to keep it off the record because there wasn't anything there.
To them that you have something that is solid. And no, to the exact contrary, this guy he said that they have nothing but the affidavit. Okay, so what we have seen is what they have. What is being discussed publicly, this whole non-expert problem with you don't know. It's what you read, his messages that don't have any dates on it, Tyler Robinson writing out everything and the clean alibi. That's what they have. And what he explained to me was that that's the affidavit stage. That's where it's at.
Now, is there a world where they have more and they're keeping it secret from Candace and they lied to her? Maybe. But as a journalist, she's perfectly protected now to claim that because they told her that directly. It's not Candace's fault that they lied to her. So it's not like they're going to trap Candace in some legal issue because she's now going to operate on that assumption. They told her that, like, this is what we've got. And if that's all they've got, that's crazy, dude. That they are that certain that they're running this PR, that they're running this media off of just the public information. And they're letting Andrew Colvett come out and lie about the affidavit. Well, lie about the autopsy, allegedly. Lie about the bullet. Lie about the surgeon. Lie about all sorts of parts of TPUSA. They're letting Rob McCoy lie about TPUSA all day long. And they don't have any extra evidence to make them feel certain that it's Tyler Robinson? And how does that make you feel about Erica Kirk? Because in my opinion, just my opinion, that's not a very smart lady. If you see this evidence in your husband's assassination investigation, and you feel so confident based on this evidence that it's a closed case and that you're not going to ask for any more investigation, not to mention you're going to actually go out and engage in propaganda for this investigation, that's a not smart lady. Or it's something else. Right? I mean, I pray to God that I never marry a woman like that. That's all I'll say. If I'm ever assassinated in the future, I pray to God that I've married a woman that is smarter than that.
And then what takes place now is the investigation is ongoing, right? So right now they're looking for more information. And once investigators, they could very well have obviously footage. And that is why they might feel that, oh, we're definitely gonna get this prosecution. But the reality is they don't actually share that information with the victim. They don't share that information with Erica. They don't, in this part of the process, they will not know what investigators have discovered. This is what the lawyer told me until May.
And yes, we will get to Erica's backstory a little bit more. We're going to watch some of James Lee's reporting on that in just a minute.
Okay. They have not seen anything that you have not seen, is what I want you to know. So with that in mind, I'm sitting here going, why are you signaling? Why do I feel like the public's being gaslit on this? There's been nothing that's convincing. There are so many commentators who have gone out and said to you, it's overwhelming. The evidence is overwhelming. The text messages that don't have a date, that don't even sound real, that's overwhelming. That to me feels really fake and gay. I really do want to say that to every commentator that is out there trying to tell the public and insisting that if you say it enough times it'll become real, you're actually just being dishonest. And I offered that a more honest way to communicate would be to say, we think he's involved. We feel strongly. I've said that. I think he's involved. We are very hopeful that throughout this investigation.
Same. He's probably involved. The question is how. The question is who else. The question is if it was a frangible round, how'd he get it? How'd he even know to use one? And we'll look at Nate's stuff in a minute about that.
We are going to get that concrete thing. And that's where we're at right now. That's just the stage that we are at. That is not what we are getting from them. That is like, I just feel like that's really important to let you guys know. Let the gaslighting stop. They have what you have, okay? There is nothing else. They are in an investigative stage. Erica has been named as the victim. They will know more in this May hearing, which is the probable cause hearing. That's what the lawyer told me. It's a probable cause hearing. And that's when they will see the evidence. That's when they get to present the evidence, why they are going to stand there before a judge and be like, yes.
Someone in chat just said, I feel the next stage is a Groyper attack. Oh, it is. And it's already happening. Maybe that's just Nick's hate. Maybe that's just Nick's vindictive hatred.
We need to move this forward. It's not just an affidavit. We're not pulling together scraps. We have concrete evidence. Until then, okay, until we all get on the same page and understand what else they have, I am very confident stating the opposite of all of my, I guess, well-paid peers in that I don't believe that Tyler Robinson pulled the trigger, which is I'm the only, your lawyers, or the investigators rather, not their lawyers, because they're not the ones investigating. It's the state of Utah that's investigating. They have not called the one solitary person, as I told you guys, who filmed as he was on the roof. Remember the guy that's like, oh, there's somebody on the roof, and he sees him crouch down. I said, I spoke to that person, and his testimony would be devastating to your prosecution. He saw the person on the roof. He filmed the person on the roof at 12:23 p.m. and he did not see that person take the shot. And this is not some random student. This is a guy who trains people to shoot guns at a range. He knows guns, okay? He said what he saw was a smaller gun. He said that this person was dressed in black tactical gear and there was no recoil.
Right? I mean, there's so many pieces to that. They haven't contacted him. Who was he in the first place? Pretty convenient that he's the one that saw the guy, but then his testimony doesn't line up at all with what we're being told now. Not at all. And Candace points out that, like, you should speak to him because he will blow your case apart. He's like the exact kind of witness that the other team should go and look into. Although apparently they haven't, which is also kind of weird.
That's devastating. That would be devastating to the prosecution. Another really big thing that happened was they brought me Mikey's call logs, okay? They brought me Mikey's call logs, and that is why I said this was a productive meeting. There is no other way to say it. I asked every question, and they came with paperwork to show and to answer and to explain certain things. Also, which was, I thought, actually kind of sweet, that I guess I did on the previous show. I was like kind of looking at things into Mikey, and I couldn't find him. And someone said, I think Mikey's not his like real name. Like they thought it was his middle name, actually. And I just assumed, okay, well, maybe he's using his middle name and that's why I can't find him. But Mikey really wants you guys to know that is his real name. And it is his real name. I found out shortly thereafter that they were confusing his middle name with, they thought it was switched. That Michael is his real name, just to clarify that, because I realized I actually didn't go back and clarify that. But Mikey's call logs, big piece of this, okay? I'm going to, I guess, jog your memory on what Blake said about Mikey that day, and then I'll tell you what actually happened, because I don't think Blake has that great of a memory. Okay, take a listen.
Chat, I don't know if you guys think that it's even possible that Blake could have this bad of a memory. To me, this seems like, I mean, A, are we going to trust the call logs? I don't know. But it's on the record now. It's on the record. And they put his wife on the call log. His wife was on the call logs, his corroboration of everything. I'm starting to wonder about all these wives. But they threw Blake under the fucking bus.
I was not with Mikey, or I don't remember being with him. I think I was ahead of him as we left. And then we get out, and I run for, can't have been more than 15 or 20 seconds. And then I realized there hasn't been another shot, so the shooter has likely been detained or stopped or something, not in immediate danger. I pause, I look around me, and I see Mikey. And I see Mikey there. And truthfully, I will never forget what I saw, because I've seen Mikey almost every day for the past 2 years. I know his personality very well. He's a very bubbly. And then he says, I need to call Erica. And then he takes his phone and he begins calling Erica. And I don't want to disclose how that call unfolded, but he did that. Your mind extends all of this, but that is happening within a minute of all of this occurring. I remember he calls Erica.
Someone in chat's writing like how everyone's a Fed. I don't know if you guys know who Zeb Boykin is. He's a ballistics instructor that did some of the reporting early on in Charlie Kirk about the ballistics. And he had this hilarious live stream about how everyone's a Fed. And he was quantifying everyone's Fedness. It was the funniest thing ever. I was like, dude, where am I at? Where am I at? He's like, puts me on. He's like, Ian's like a lowercase f Fed. He's like up here. And he was just like, based upon your audience that you capture and your affiliation with various parties and like how controlled your narrative is. It was hilarious. And it was a great explanation of the nuances of controlled media spaces and of the new media environment and just how you have to operate mentally. and sort of have a little bit of suspicion about everyone while also kind of taking the piss out of it and just making it a bit of a joke too, because in a way it's like you can't take it too seriously because you'll never really know, unfortunately, in this media environment. And so you shouldn't trust anyone, and you should just think very carefully. Yeah, the Fedimeter. It was a funny fucking episode.
Around the same time, I pull out my phone and I call my mom just to say, Mom, there's been a shooting. You're going to see it on the news. I'm okay. You know, pray for me. I've got to go. And I remember that call. And around the time I put that phone away, and then he immediately calls his dad. He calls Rob McCoy. And he says, Dad, someone shot Charlie. You need to call all of your pastor friends. Charlie was hit. We need everyone to pray right now. And that's what he told him.
Okay, so that's just not right. And so when he says, I might be imagining this, I'll never forget, followed by, I might be imagining this, probably means that maybe you forgot and like you really could be imagining. Now, for me personally, I think the normal physiological response in these high adrenaline situations for most people is you lock in. That they're literally your body.
Not Blake.
Erica, we were told this by many people also, that he trained like he almost like went to a camp and trained, and Charlie was like 1, 2, 3 go, and like fast 1, 2, 3 go. That's why he walked away. 1, 2, 3 go, and just told him, this is what the first thing you do is.
Blake now
Well,
speed.
Actually, the first person he called was his wife. He called Elizabeth McCoy. And then he stayed on the phone with his wife for 10 minutes. And during those 10 minutes, he 3-wayed Erica 3 minutes after the shot went off. And then he 3-ways his father. And then he 3-ways a third person who I am not interested in mentioning because it's not relevant.
Right? Why all the caginess? Why did we get a whole bunch of different stories? Why were they so afraid to reveal this? Why did they try? If this was the call, why did they need to trot Blake Neff out to explain it? Wrong. To lie about it. Why not just have Mikey come out and say this? Why not bring Mikey's wife out to explain it and corroborate it? That would have been the easiest thing ever. Right? And so I'm still very suspicious of these call logs. Is this the exact text form that it came in? Because this doesn't exactly look like Candace's usual text format, but maybe this is Candace's resynthesis of them. Because this doesn't look like the kind of thing you would get from Verizon. Right? And so this is where just getting them on record saying things is really valuable. Really valuable. And I'd be curious. I might try to ask Candace and her team if what format the call logs were shown to them in, if it looked like it came from the phone company or from any official source, or if it was just typed out in like a Google document or something. Because this just adds more questions. So first off, we are now to believe that when Mikey did this and walked away like this, he wasn't on the phone already. He didn't call her until a minute after. Maybe. Even though when he goes behind the tent, both hands are going to his ears. And then when he walks out from behind the tent, one hand is at his ear and the other hand is not. Already in that moment. Doesn't really look like how you would plug your ears to me. But then, a minute later, apparently he's making a phone call to his wife. Maybe as he's walking away from the SUV in the background in the images that we have of him. The caginess is suspicious.
This is Danny McCoy, by the way, is his brother that's in the military, but that's before the shot goes.
Pierce Morgan asked her directly, and she said just print it out on paper, but didn't specify. Yup. That tracks.
Off. Charlie Kirk shot goes off.
So, yeah, the call logs sus in every direction.
Back to this Hamptons retreat.
There's
the thing
so
about the
many
entry-
clips. There are so many clips. Right? Remember, the narrative was that after Candace's Tuesday show that she had sold out and that she didn't offer any information. And oh my gosh, I've given up faith. Oh my gosh, I used to be a candy and now I'm not. Like, what? I mean, first off, for me, I don't buy everything that Candace says. I don't just take it as gospel truth. I just see it as reporting, and I treat it like everyone else is reporting. And I just watch what she says, and I try to corroborate it for myself, and I see how it plays out. And I know her track record. And based on her track record, I'm not inclined to call her a liar before I see undeniable proof of such. Right? And I think that's probably how a lot of people feel about her reporting. And so when I went back through this episode, when I was clipping all of this to go through it, it's like, to me, the response on Tuesday and Wednesday feels very manufactured. It feels very fake and gay. And you should just keep an eye out for these sorts of things, these sorts of tactics, the flooding of the zone. Certainly she could be deceived. Certainly she could be. And we're looking for evidence that that's happened. And if she is being deceived by a complex malicious actor that is giving her false information that's corroborated but still misleading, just that is suspicious as well. Is Tyler Robinson deceiving her? Or is someone else deceiving her? Because if it's not Tyler Robinson and other people are intentionally trying to deceive Candace Owens around this case, ask yourself why and who. Right?
And I communicated this with them. That makes me so uncomfortable is how many little lies were told. I think I've been clear about that. Like, Seth Dillon definitively pressed Charlie at this event.
Part is big.
Whether it was in a hypothetical, which it was in a hypothetical, but he got fired up in the hypothetical of Charlie discussing potentially tweeting something against Bibi Netanyahu. It did lead to this firecracker moment. Again, this is one of those things where I go, why am I always being hung out to dry for telling people the truth? Especially when I wasn't going, oh, well, Seth Dillon killed Charlie Kirk. I just, this happened. It factually happened. And yet everybody's kind of putting out these weird statements and they're not being honest in them. And I was saying to them, that made me feel really weird. And I would love to know more about this Bibi Netanyahu offer to fund Turning Point to the next level. At which point Erica said she was not aware of that happening. It is obviously totally possible that that was kept in the business lane of Turning Point USA. But I'm certain, I said, I am absolutely certain that I did not get this from an obscure source, that Bibi offered to fund Turning Point to the next level. And it was part of my frustration with that sit down with Alex Clark, where Andrew said, oh, there was not $150 million. That's made up. You know, I told them, Andrew Colvett was my source. Andrew Colvett told me.
That's huge. That's crazy. That's the thing, is that she has all these receipts from people like Andrew Colvett, who she's actually been protecting as the source of that information. The fact that Andrew Colvett told her that changes the whole nature of that story. And then TPUSA just sits by while everyone that they own is shilling about how Candace lied about that. And then she said that Andrew Colvett was pissed because he stood to gain a lot from that going to the next level. No, that's a lie. Even though Andrew Colvett's the one that told her about the fucking deal in the first place. Right? If Andrew Colvett doesn't get fired, there's something weird going on. Right? How could you not fire Andrew at this point? How could you not fire Andrew 3 days ago, let alone a month ago? Right?
Verbatim. That Bibi Netanyahu offered to take Turning Point to the next level and that Charlie turned that money down. So
then what was Andrew thinking? Was he thinking that when he leaked that to her early on, he didn't realize how it would come back around? But at the time, was the idea that he was trying to lead her off the train of Israel and think about other things because Charlie turned him down because Andrew Colvett is that dense to think that that's not relevant? Right? See, it's very complex what we do and don't know. We don't know. Like, maybe Andrew Colvett's just being a dumbass. Maybe he's just looking out for his own skin. Maybe he's trying to legitimately investigate it and is just not very good at this. Or maybe he's involved in any number of elements of cover-up, conspiracy, or whatever. I don't know. But no matter what Andrew Colvett is up to, he needs to be fired. Yesterday. Andrew's family, so he's not going to get fired. Everyone at TPUSA is family, apparently. Except for Rob McCoy. He's fucking out. Fuck that guy. Charlie's pastor? Yeah, right. Kick rocks, Rob McCoy. You never even worked for us in any capacity. Go edit your Wikipedia page back.
I said there's a bit of a predicament when I'm being like lambasted by all of these voices and people that are attacking me and these paid campaigns. And when I say paid, yes, okay, actually have the names of people. Different ways they're being paid. Some are being paid by PR firms. Too many are being paid by Prager University, which is upsetting to me.
Why would that be happening? Why would Prager University be paying influencers to shut down and obfuscate and lie about Candace's reporting about Israel's involvement here? How weird. Marissa Streit, I wonder if you could comment on that. Miss Streit, any comment on why PragerU would be having influencers do such things, allegedly? That's weird.
Because I know Marissa, and it's just dirty. But it's especially crazy when people are calling it a conspiracy when I share things that are told to me from the spokesperson of Turning Point USA. Okay? That's weird. And yes, they were forthcoming. Nobody's ever denied this. So this was not on our list of lies about the fact that Bibi Netanyahu did call him. Okay, that did happen. Bibi shared that, by the way. Our source for that could have just as well been Bibi Netanyahu. And not a lot of clarity on, I don't know, why some people think he didn't make this offer and why definitively 3 different sources who would have knowledge of this confirmed to me that Bibi Netanyahu did indeed make this offer. I never said...
That's a lot of sources. Andrew Colvett himself plus 3 other sources. That's a lot of fucking sources. And that detail is so important. That Bibi offered to take Turning Point to the next level and Charlie turned him down. That is hugely important. And the denials of it are just as important. The lies to say that that never happened. Look at who said that.
$150 million ever, not once on the show. I wouldn't have even said that, by the
This
way.
part's
If you
funny.
said take Turning Point to the next level, I actually would have assumed it was more, if I'm being honest.
Dropping fucking shade. Ooh, Bibi, that's all you can muster? Just 150 millies? That's all you got, Bibi? Is that an Israeli next level, bro? I thought that we were better than that, Bibi. Come on. What, are you getting poor? Shabbat Shalom ain't what it used to be, dog? Come on. Yeah, Gigi comes up and she's like, yeah, that's bullshit. That's bullshit.
That's a hefty offer, and it leads to a lot of questions. So
Gigi, go lay down. Go. Psst. We're on the liver treats today. Yeah, Gigi in the chat. Gigi in the chat.
there was not a lot of clarity there. Lastly, I want to add, of course, I was locked in this meeting when people on live were another round of debunking the Egyptian planes. I want to be very clear. We discussed the Egyptian planes, and I have since worked on an incredible document about the Egyptian planes, which we are going to put up on our website, because I realized that when we sent that,
I've been looking for this document. I want this document to come out real bad. I've got my own documents about the Egyptian planes. I've got my own analysis of the public flight data. I want to see her analysis of it. I want to see what other stuff she's added to it. I got all kinds of questions about these Egyptian planes, regardless of whether or not they were tracking Erica Kirk. Honestly, the Egyptian planes tracking Erica Kirk, super suspicious. Tucker's assertion that he was told by a reputable source that that's true. Even without that, I'm still suspicious of them. The more I look at Egyptian airspace, the more suspicious of them I get.
Shared that spreadsheet. People assume
And obviously, in the next show that we're going to watch clips from here, she adds more to this.
that one of the columns, which was actually saying where the planes landed on that day, because it was plus or minus 3 days, was exactly where Erica had been on that day, and that was inaccurate. And so for clarity, I had been working on the last week on turning it into an interactive timeline that we can put up on our website, because I'm certain
Let's
that
party.
these Egyptian planes are incredibly shady.
Let's
and
party.
That they were, in fact, tracking Turning Point USA, Faith, broader events. Of course, Erica was at some of them. Charlie was at some of them. But it is the pattern here is undeniable. So let the
Pastor Rob McCoy was at some of them.
naysayers and people make videos trying to, fifth round debunk these planes. I also want to say to you that I feel very confident that I know why these planes have caused such panic. And it is because there is
Oh, I forgot. It was actually in this episode that she says this part.
overwhelming evidence that these planes regularly fly in and out of Israel. And I'm going to present that evidence tomorrow. I say that strongly. This is I feel very confident saying these Egyptian planes are flying in and out. And notice I'm saying planes because
I have received some information to suggest that, and I've been trying to corroborate it myself. I don't know what information she's got. I think she released a little bit more about it yesterday, the day after this episode. But I want more information. I want proof. I want a DOJ investigation. I want government investigation and data about this.
once I was able to connect people that were on those planes onto other Egyptian planes, I was able to realize that these planes are flying in and out of Israel and turning their transponder off each time that they do it. That is now makes perfect sense of why there was this mass panic, right? It's not exactly like we have a strong Egyptian lobby in the United States. Not like, whoa, well, those darn Egyptians again are trying to get TikTok censored. I mean, every person in the game, Barry, acting. Well, these are the usual suspects that act if something is a threat to Israel, okay? Which is, they should have just been forthcoming, pretended that it was changing apart. Instead, they're trying to gaslight us. And
the thing is, if they've been pretending it was changing apart, they still would have had a lot of explaining to do, because we carefully analyze the flight patterns of these Egyptian planes, and they just don't line up with maintenance. Even though there is a Dassault maintenance facility in the area, it just doesn't line up. It's weird. I can't come up with any logical explanation. I'm not an expert. Maybe someone can explain it in a way that it makes sense. But those flight patterns of those Egyptian planes this year and last year are super weird.
they're actually, frankly, just pissing me off. So I became locked in on these Egyptian planes because that's how I am. Okay. You keep pushing me and keep pushing me. I will become an expert on these planes. I'll learn how to build an Egyptian plane. And the reality is, like I said, tomorrow I will show you how these planes tie back to Israel. And there's no disproving this. So more on that later.
Yeah, I've got some pretty fucking solid sourcing to make me believe that, aside from Candace, and aside from my own investigation. But it's the kind of thing that's so hard to prove with public information that I'm trying hard, because I agree that the Egyptian planes are so important. We might have already seen this clip.
Next up, that quotation continues. HIPAA compliant.
Oh no. Okay.
Is like the Man of Steel.
So we're on to yesterday's show now. Wednesday's show.
It should have just gone through and through. It likely would have killed those standing behind him too. And that seems strange for a lot of reasons. First off, HIPAA compliance. Why would he speak to Andrew Colvett? Also, did Andrew Colvett record it? It's a pretty long quotation. Why is it in quotations? Do you remember that verbatim? And I can tell you that it's kind of been a mess since. This is kind of the beginning of everything, right? If we're being honest, that one solitary tweet was the beginning of the, what I would call, federal mask slip. It feels like they have been feeding us slop ever since. Well,
yeah.
I now feel comfortable revealing some more information for you, some that I have held on to, but which the people who gave this to me are now insisting that I reveal. Simply put, and I'm going to say allegedly here only because I did not speak directly to Dr. Lee Trotter.
But apparently the people that told her this are now insisting that she reveal it. So kind of implies that they're close friends of his or family or something, because they're trying to clear his name, sort of.
But I very much have verified and trust this source. Simply put, never once did Dr. Lee Trotter say that Charlie's neck was stopped. Charlie's neck stopped a .30-06 bullet.
And if you've seen Barron's reporting about Dr. Lee Trotter and his planes and everything, people were starting to get a little suspicious of Dr. Lee Trotter, of Dr. Lee DuPont Trotter. I mean, Dr. Trotter's an interesting character, it sure looks like. And yeah, I'm not sure if we're now protecting the surgeon or if the surgeon actually never said that. I don't know what's going on with the surgeon, but I have questions all over this autopsy. Every direction of this autopsy, we have questions. Yeah, he speaks 5 languages allegedly based upon whatever that profile was. He has multiple planes in different companies, one of which is a bush plane so he can land anywhere, that he keeps the flight data very carefully private for. That's weird.
It's actually hugely embarrassing.
He just likes aviation.
For any surgeon to have said something like that. It's hugely embarrassing also because we're being told that, like, you know.
If you're not up to date on your JFK lore, controlling the surgeons, the autopsies, the coroners is old standard practice. Very, very useful in these kinds of situations.
He's violating HIPAA to get this information out there in this very high stress situation. You're actually accusing him of being not a professional on top of also kind of being an idiot. And you can imagine that that's put a lot of undue stress on the surgeon's family, as many of them have been wrongly implicated in a cover-up. Like, the absurdity of such a narrative, if you're going to put something out there, there's going to be flack that comes upon the surgeon, the other doctors.
Yep. And it's understandable. It's understandable that people would be suspicious. Now, we don't have any evidence that the surgeon is involved in a crime here. We certainly don't have any reason to harass Dr. Trotter or his family members. I condemn that. Don't do that. But, like, we have every reason to ask questions. We have every reason to try to get to the bottom of this. And just because, I mean, when he said that, allegedly said Man of Steel or whatever, we don't have any reason to believe that that statement was true. And now that we've been told he never said that, we also still don't really have a lot of reason to believe that he also never said it. Because at this point, it could be both. It could be that he very much was okay with that statement going out, whether it was true or said or not. And it could be that now it's like, no, sorry, we're going to protect me. And we're going to pretend, and I never said that. I don't know. At this point, it's all he says, she says from a bunch of liars. So, unfortunately, suspicion has to remain on all of them.
Nurses, are you involved? Did you try to get Charlie Kirk killed? Were you involved in this, in staging this? Why would you say that he ate healthy, right? And there's no doctor or surgeon that would say something like that. So to restate that, the quotation that Andrew Colbert shared on his X feed is not a direct quotation from the surgeon, like, at all. Rather, what I was told is that what the surgeon communicated very clearly to Andrew, and yes, it is absolutely true that the surgeon, Dr. Lee Trotter, hunts, so he does have experience with bullets. What he communicated is that it was likely a frangible bullet that was used. Now, for those of you who don't hunt, maybe don't shoot, and you're not familiar with that term,
Nate Valhalla VFT's ears just went, excuse me? And we're going to watch some of Nate's clips here in just a second.
Frangible, like, what's a frangible bullet? That refers to a specialized ammunition that is designed to disintegrate into powder upon impact.
Yeah. So, Nate watches this.
That is designed to disintegrate into powder upon impact.
Okay, so super convenient. Again, all of a sudden, 3 months later, the surgeon comes out and says, No. That's all lies. He never said that. It was a frangible round, which again immediately makes the entire narrative work. It does, and I will show.
Super convenient, right? And that's why I'm saying that I don't necessarily believe either of these statements. I don't necessarily believe that he didn't say it, and I don't necessarily believe that he said this now. Because it's almost like they're watching this bullet narrative fall apart, and we've brought a lot of attention to the bullet narrative lately in a very public forum, gotten a lot of heat over pointing out that the bullet doesn't make any fucking sense. And now conveniently, suddenly the bullet is exactly the type of bullet that all the experts have been saying from the start, this is the only type of round that could possibly make sense with what we have on video.
You, I put this video out, and it explains a little bit of it. Let me go back. I put this video out. What did I put this out? 2 months ago? And I said this exact thing. I said,
yeah, you have to excuse Candace's descriptions. She's not a gun person. She says turn to powder. You know what she means. Like, you know what a frangible round does. Nate knows what a frangible round does. She was just using her layman understanding to explain, the basics of it.
frangible round makes perfect sense. This is exactly what you would expect. However, we're going to get into the actual anatomy part of this, of why the frangible round just didn't work. Okay, here we go. So, if you didn't see this video that I did, I went through a ton of different types of 30-06 rounds, trying to figure out what's the potential of one of these rounds actually being used that would hit Charlie, create no exit wound, and then, but also create that narrative that TPUSA told us, right? That it came in, hit the C2, tracked down, blew through 6 vertebrae, and an entire bullet lodged in the neck. Okay.
TPUSA execs found Ian because of Candace and Nate and Baron because of Ian, just like the rest of us. You're probably right. You're probably right.
So again, to my point, frangible round is designed to not penetrate through, specifically designed to not penetrate through, and we'll explain why.
Well, OX boot. So we are to believe he only had one frangible round because the other rounds weren't or didn't appear to be? We don't know that because they haven't shown us any photos of the other rounds, which is very suspicious. Because the rounds were apparently engraved with tranny slang. And then they were just sharpied with, internet ideology. I shouldn't say the T word. YouTube will get mad at me for the T word. And then we still don't have photos of them. But allegedly, Tyler Robinson was drawing his little ooh-woos on there. And there's unspent rounds in the cartridge, in the clip. And there's still the casing of the first round that was fired in the rifle. And that had better all be frangible rounds then, if this is what we're being told. Right? And every other shooting where there's been a transgender individual engraving their casings, you know what they did first thing? They fucking published photos of the casings right away. Every time. Right? This is the only time that they have not published photos of the bullets, despite playing out this whole trans slang stuff to try to stoke this leftist ideology narrative. Is that not weird to you? Do you not smell the bullshit from a mile away there? Because they need to sell the leftist narrative, so they need to tell you that this really identifiable marker that we've seen in all these totally normal shootings where they've shown us the bullets with the engraved casings, the drawn-on symbols, all the crazy scribblings in the notebooks, just so that way you know for sure it was this leftist trans guy who's not actually trans. But then they aren't going to show us these ones. No photos at all. Just trust us, bro. Because we need the right to hate the left, and we need the left to hate the right. And we need you to not ask any questions about foreign involvement in the most significant political assassination in your lifetime. Awfully fucking convenient. awfully fake and gay.
Once we watch this, okay. But here, I explained it in this video 2 months ago. That would have just literally blown right through Charlie's neck. But now that we've kind of got past those standard hunting rounds, now we're going to get into some niche rounds where there may be a possibility to create no exit wound. Let's check this out. All right, so the frangible round, as it says here, the high-density frangible bullet has tremendous centrifugal force when entering the animal and upon penetration. Also, guys, for everybody who, this was 2 months ago, remember? 2 months ago, I just told you? For everybody who's saying, yeah, it's so easy to find. What's this say right here? What's this say right here? That's going to be a common theme once we start looking for these rounds. Oh, look at that, out of stock. Yeah, they're super common. Anyway, let's keep moving. The core turns into powder in its original composition. So essentially what frangible rounds are designed to do is once they enter and they impact something very, very hard, they basically are just going to disintegrate, right? The idea behind that is, let's say you're going to go out target shooting and you're shooting steel and
it's important to hear the explanation about this from someone like Nate, because understanding what frangible rounds are usually used for and understanding why they're pretty rare and kind of hard to get your hands on. They're not impossible to get your hands on, obviously. Nate is very clear about that. But understanding what they're for and why Tyler Robinson probably didn't have them, probably didn't even really know about them, probably, it's important. Details matter.
Those bullets flying off the steel, maybe different directions or towards your neighbor's house, whatever. That round, when it hits that steel, it's just going to disintegrate into nothing, which would kind of be the idea if it hit something really hard, like hard bone.
Yeah, if you bought them online, we better have receipts. Right? I mean, everything's traced.
Okay. It potentially wouldn't create any exit wound. So you might think, oh, there it is. We solved it. It was a frangible round. But what's the problem with the frangible round idea? Well, it's this. All right, here's where the frangible round theory kind of gets thrown out with the bathwater. And that's, of course, because of Turning Point USA, who's put out this information that a bullet was found that came in, according to, again, Turning Point USA, who I would assume isn't going to lie about this, that bullet
we were wrong about that, huh, boys?
So much for that. Crashed through all of these vertebrae and then lodged into the body here. And that bullet was completely found here. Well, like we just saw on the description of the ammo, the frangible round is designed to essentially disintegrate when it hits something hard. What a frangible round is not going to do is hit this neck vertebrae, blast through 6 more vertebrae all the way down here, and then just be fully intact. It would have already disintegrated essentially into the body or fragmented all over the place.
In another clip on the show that I don't think we have clipped, Nate does go over how if the frangible round were to hit him in the middle of the neck, the cavitation of the round could well have damaged all of those vertebrae the way that we were told that they were damaged. That's possible. But Nate is rightly very suspicious of this narrative and how convenient it is.
So if it is true that this round, again, hit a neck and crashed through a bunch of bone and the whole thing lodged completely intact inside Charlie's body, it could not have been a frangible round. Okay.
Yeah. So this would mean that we are being lied to by TPUSA directly, Andrew Colvett, who leaked all this information about the autopsy to people like Stephen Gardner and probably Brandon Tatum, and told us that a bullet was found. A fragment of the bullet was found lodged down by T1. That's a lie. And it's a lie that seemed convenient at the time, because at the time we were asking, where's the bullet? At the time we were saying there's no exit wound. Where's the if there's no exit wound, is the bullet still inside of him? And suddenly a story is produced from inside the depths of TPUSA saying, oh yeah, there's a bullet. Don't worry. We found it inside of him. But now that story is not so convenient, because we're all noticing that a 30-06 is not going to lodge inside of him. It's going to go straight through his fucking neck. Now it's a frangible round. It's a magic bullet, basically. And just trust the science. Don't ask too many questions, or you might have to get kicked off the internet.
Stephen Gardner came on my channel and explained to us, Andrew Colvett told him directly. The bullet, you guys remember, I could pull the clip up if we have to. The round came in, hit the C2, blew through 6 vertebrae, and the entire round lodged in the T1. We saw Andrew Colvett say it. We saw Stephen Gardner say it. We saw Officer Tatum say it. Everybody said it. That was the narrative, and they've seen the medical report, right? So now, all of a sudden, 3 months later, like we're just like, oh yeah, duh, it's the one thing that explains the entire story.
The irony of the Valhalla brand, of Valhalla being his brand name, and Cash's Valhalla comments is pretty funny.
Okay. I don't have a problem with it. We honestly, also, we don't know what the fuck's true at this point, right? Did the surgeon actually say this? Did the surgeon say that he thought it was a frangible round? Like, again, I'm going to assume Andrew Colvett was not told that by the surgeon because the story never made sense. Now the surgeon's saying he never said that. You'd have to, and what do we think? Why? I don't know, chat. This is what's like got me trying to figure things out. Why would Andrew Colvett make that up? He did obviously make that up. We know that now. But why would he make that up? He made that up early.
Because at the time, that was when we had just learned there was no exit wound. And so the world needed a narrative of where the bullet went. And suddenly, TPUSA insiders start coming out talking about the autopsy that was leaked to them by, we now know, Andrew Colvett, saying that the bullet hit his spine and deflected it like 80 degrees and then went down his spine and broke up and lodged down by his T1, allegedly. Voila, you have an answer. See how transparent TPUSA is? Very convenient timing at the time, but now it's a little inconvenient, unfortunately.
Came out and said that, and that changed everything because everyone's been operating under the assumption of that medical examiner's report. Right? Why would TPUSA come out and lie about that? Does anybody have any good ideas? I don't have a good idea yet. I'm trying to wrap my head around that. Because it would seem like you would want to come out and say now what they're saying, right? Hey, there's no exit wound because the doctor thinks it was a frangible round. Great. Cool. Now.
If they'd said that from the start, we might not be here now. If they'd said that from the start, there might not have been nearly as much movement in military circles to question this whole narrative. And without the movement in military circles to question the narrative and to start firing 30-06 rounds at dummies and to start giving their perspective on how this narrative doesn't make sense, this alleged autopsy doesn't make sense, this Man of Steel bullshit doesn't make sense, I mean, we would still be here. Candace would certainly still be there. But there'd be way less smoke coming out of this fire.
We're getting somewhere. Now the story makes sense. But now that you did that 3.5 months later out of fucking nowhere, and
I want Nate to test the frangible rounds
this whole time. What are we supposed to think? Now what's true? And again, I'm not even saying I believe this. Because it's so convenient. Like, and it's the one thing. It's the one bullet that, of course, makes it work. The frangible round. Perfect. Got it. No exit.
Beach Vizsla, I've not shot frangible rounds. I couldn't tell you I don't know the ballistics of frangible rounds. I couldn't tell you what kind of fragments they might leave in a body. There's a few people in chat that seem to know frangible rounds. Maybe they can answer you. But I'm sure we'll get Nate to tell us more about them. And I hope that we can get Nate to go and actually shoot some into some ballistic gel. We'll see.
Wound fragments out of the body. But now I want to see the autopsy report. Show me the autopsy report. Because if there's a fucking full bullet sitting there in Charlie's T1, that ain't a frangible round.
Let's look it up. This is a 223 51 grain frangible. Boom. And again, this didn't hit anything hard. It just hit the ballistic gel. So this would be if it just hit flesh, no bone. Ballistic gel shots are so crazy to watch. They are so trippy. High-speed ballistic gel shots. See, what I want to see is I want to see an impact inside a ballistic gel with a hard object inside of it, which is a much more specialized test. Because this is the kind of fragmentation you get just hitting flesh-like substance, ballistic gel. Wow, that's an old school video, 16 years ago. Dang. I'm hesitant to just play random ones because I don't want to accidentally play like wicked gun content. Or content with music that's going to be copyright.
Unexpanding round was
Yeah, music. But I think they're going to visualize it for you. Oh, this is non-expanding defense ammunition. I'm just getting sidetracked over here. My bad. We'll watch one more. Music. But see, this is simulation. This isn't... I mean, some of it looks like real footage. Yeah, real footage. With their music. But see, it turns into like powder, essentially. So I don't know. Maybe there still could be fragments found in Charlie's body. Nate doesn't seem to represent it that way. I'm not the expert. Who knows? Who knows? I mean, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm still under the impression that a 30-06 frangible round is still going to leave massive damage inside of Charlie's neck. And might still exit. I don't know. Because at a 9-degree angle and a 9-degree offset, Chris Martenson showed pretty clearly that there's actually not a lot of reason to believe that it would even hit the spine. And actually, some of the shills on the other side were like Jean-Francois Gripey that was like shilling the trampoline neck theory that Nick Fuentes was parroting. He said, yeah, Chris Martenson has the exact right trajectory. That's an exact line. It didn't even hit his spine. It went and hit the back of his neck and then trampolined back into his spine, which is so retarded. One more VFT clip.
Great. The other thing, guys.
Oh, no, two more. I got one other queued up.
What about those rounds the FBI found? Remember those? Because he supposedly took the shot, didn't even eject the shell casing. And when they found the gun, they found a shell casing in the gun, and they found 3 extra rounds. Remember the rounds that were supposedly engraved on? And then later they were actually Sharpied on?
Yup. Yeah, we remember.
Show us those rounds. We'll be able to tell exactly what they are.
Pretty straightforward.
But they don't exist. Those pictures don't exist. So where the fuck are they? Because that could tell us right away, oh, that's a frangible round. But if what you have in the evidence is a full metal jacket round, or even in some austere, weird 22 accelerator round or whatever, people want to think that these rounds are super common. Well, show us that. Because now the official narrative is Charlie was shot by Tyler Robinson, and this is what we're going to get into next, with a frangible 30-06 round. Now, I want to bring this up because, again, people are in chat are going to try to tell you, oh, they're super common. Like, again, I just showed you 2 months ago when I did that video out of stock. We can look at shit right now. Okay.
Just
Can
pulling
you
it up
find them?
live.
Sure, if you dig hard enough. Most of the time, what you're going to find is the actual bullet itself that you got to do manual reloads in for. It's hard to find like actual real frangible rounds. And let me explain the reason why. Okay. And why they're rare for the general public.
This is why we love having experts to explain things that you might not realize, you might not know, you might not have the context on. I wouldn't have had the context on this.
Okay. The 30-06 for the general public is used for what? Hunting big game. That's what the fucking rifle is designed.
You can hear my screenshot noises as I was tracking planes while grabbing this screen recording over here. I'm like doing 3 things at once, and my screenshot noises are in the video.
To do. The reason why it's probably the most overall popular big game hunting rifle, deer, elk, moose, other than maybe a 270, is that it's so powerful and its ability to pass through and puncture through is so strong. That's why you want to use it. So for the people who tell you, oh, once a round hits a bone, oh, it just blows into a million pieces and nothing happens. That's not true for a 30-06 round, specifically because a 30-06 round is designed to blow through bone. Why? Because if you want to kill something like a fucking moose and you shoot it in the side, if the bullet just blows,
which is, by the way, where you're supposed to shoot big game. You don't aim for the head when you're hunting. You aim for like that heart quadrant, right?
Into 100 pieces, when it hits the rib, it's not going to pass through and hit the lungs and hit the heart and cause all the damage you need to cause to kill that big animal. So that's why a 30-06 is so popular for hunting. Okay. And you want a powerful round, right? That's going to a soft point round most of the time for hunting. That's going to expand wide and create a shit ton of damage and blow through that animal. So
yeah, that's fair. You'll take a headshot if you get a headshot.
Well, it's not used for hunting, right? You don't want, if I'm going to shoot a moose and with a frangible round, it's going to hit that rib and it's going to disintegrate. It's not going to kill the animal. So it's not a common popular round because you don't use it for hunting. What you do use it for, and where you see it far more often, is for law enforcement. Okay? Law enforcement snipers. And the reason for that is you want a round that once it hits something is going to disintegrate. It's not going to pass through. Okay? Same idea with like a pistol and hollow point rounds. You don't want it to pass through that person, pass through a wall, and kill some kid 3 houses down. That's why law enforcement's using frangible rounds, okay, for their snipers.
Yeah.
So why would, and here's what I'm going to start to, let's wrap our brains around this. Tyler Robinson. Character profile.
4.0 GPA. Near perfect score on the ACT. Just wanted to throw that in there.
2-year-old kid. Hobbies are Magic the Gathering and video games. Let's say.
Hey, I played Magic the Gathering growing up. Nate's throwing shade. Nate's throwing shade on the nerds.
He took the ammo out of Grandpa's basement. What?
And to be fair, I wouldn't have known how to fucking get a frangible round, so point proven.
Why the fuck does Grandpa have frangible rounds? Let's say, and this is hypothetically, that's where he got them. Where'd Grandpa get frangible rounds? I'm assuming Grandpa used the gun to hunt, like every grandpa. Why would Grandpa even fucking have frangible rounds? Okay, that doesn't make any sense. And then Tyler Robinson. Why would Tyler Robinson go out of his way to specifically, and again, I looked around town. I looked at every gun store around town when I was going to go do my ballistics test because I wanted to find some frangible rounds just to do the testing for it.
Bingo.
0 places sold them. Tried to find them online. Very, very difficult. Couldn't get my hands on them. So why would Tyler Robinson spend all this time, again, 22-year-old kid, hobbies are video games, Magic the Gathering, barely has ever hunted or used firearms. Why is he trying to track down 30-06 frangible rounds on some austere, weird website when he could just buy Full Metal Jacket rounds from fucking Walmart? None of that makes sense.
When his goal is to kill the target, doesn't care about collateral damage, presumably.
Unless you had someone helping you. Someone professional. I don't know, like a foreign government or something like that.
Someone that didn't want the bullet to exist after it was fired. That would track.
that may want you to. His dad's not a sheriff, okay? So this is just bad information, right? Not true. 100% not true. Dad owns a construction business, okay?
Bingo. I'm going to grab one more clip from Nate that I've queued up over here. Oh, damn it.
Again, I don't know. We just don't have the answers. Are there unspent rounds in the mag? Also frags. three unspent rounds. Plus also a cartridge that they left in because it's bolt action. So he didn't actually eject the round on the roof. So that was still left in the gun. So actually 3 rounds plus the shell of 1 round, according to the FBI. Isn't that funny, guys? Isn't it funny how we've seen, initially we saw everything out of the FBI, like tweets. They couldn't step on their own dick fast enough to tell us, we got him, we don't got him, we got him, we don't got him. Here's the gun. Maybe that's not the gun. Oh, but his dad turned him in. Just kidding. His dad didn't turn him in. It was the family friend sheriff. All of that stuff they constantly threw at us as fast as possible. But when it came to the rounds, they just told us that they found rounds engraved. And they just told us what it was said on the rounds. But they didn't actually show us a picture of the rounds.
Nope.
Isn't that odd?
Yeah.
Oh, 30-06 in these skinny jeans. We can see that. Okay, obviously. And then we see here. Skinny jeans. These are tight-ass jeans. There is no 30-06 in these jeans. What a lot of people try to say is, oh, well, he had it up the back here. Oh, my God. Yeah, you can bring one of those in here. Or bring him in here.
His girl's bringing in his 30-06.
Oh.
Is that what's happening?
My wife just, like, hold on, bring him in here. Come show everybody. Look what my wife just brought in.
Oh.
We got a, sorry, we got a little sidetracked.
Yeah, we got a little sidetracked. So, ain't that interesting? And we're still going to get to stuff about Erica Kirk's background here in a minute. But first, I want to go to some more expert testimony that came in just recently that Nate brought to our attention. Nate referenced this in his stream last night, but if you haven't gone and seen the whole podcast, it's very worth the watch. And this section about Charlie Kirk is especially relevant. So this is Mike Glover, not him, the guy he's interviewing, is Mike Glover, ex-Green Beret sniper. Specifically sniper.
The investigation and kind of picking apart some of the, from a shooter standpoint and an investigation standpoint, I guess just broadly speaking, what is your take on that across the board, really? I mean, from the narrative that's being fed from the FBI to the public to, you know, the concreting over the shooting site not long afterwards and the videos that we've seen, and just from a sniper's perspective, kind of what is your take overall of the entire thing?
A lot of it stinks, and I don't like it. There are technical things that 100% I could speak from a position of expertise and authority.
Yeah, so Mike Glover served as a sniper during his 18-year career in the U.S. Army Special Forces, where he held roles such as weapons specialist, assaulter, reconnaissance team sergeant, and joint terminal air control. He was deployed to combat zones 14 to 15 times, including multiple rotations in Iraq and Afghanistan. So, bro knows what he's talking about.
As a sniper, but overall, the entire thing doesn't technically meet any of my evaluations of what an organized hit would look like, pinning it on one man who grew up hunting a little bit, who had little to no exposure to guns, and grew up in a conservative home. It just doesn't make any sense. And there's many components to that, but for him, like, everybody's like, it's an easy shot. Got it. Yeah. Shooting a watermelon off of a fence post is an easy shot. Shooting a man under a tent in front of thousands of people, knowing that you could get shot and killed yourself, compromised, even for trained operators, is a lot of pressure. Not that we couldn't work through that pressure because we do that. But for a civilian with no understanding of stress inoculation, of training methodology, planning sequences to be able to execute that alone seems off to me.
Is there, to play devil's advocate, because that's my jam, is there any element of young, naive, almost too dumb? I mean, it's kind of like going through buds at 18. It's like you're almost kind of too dumb to even understand what you've gotten yourself into. Do you think that there's any element of that that's even possible, that like it just didn't even register that what he was doing was so profoundly significant historically and evil and what have you, that it was just not impulsive, because obviously there's a level of planning that needs to take place, but just from a mindset standpoint, that could possibly be a factor?
Yeah, for sure. But even in the analogy you used, in buds, you don't have to be super technical. You just need to survive, right? You need to get through it. When you look at this situation, even breaking it down into an op, and just cut out planning, just do infill, actions on, and exfil.
Even with 2 weeks to plan it, although we have testimony from students at the campus that they saw someone on the roof. I don't know if we have any clarity on whether they looked like Tyler Robinson or not. Didn't sound like it looked like Tyler Robinson from the way the testimony came in, but it's hard to trust that kind of testimony from a student in their foggy memory. But even with 2 weeks of planning to get all this together, the way it all went down, and Mike brings up some very important points about leaving the rifle behind.
To flawlessly infill, flawlessly execute, and flawlessly exfil without compromise, and only to be, like, if that happened, which it happened allegedly, and then to throw it and piss it all away by throwing the rifle in the woods seems like a contradiction, an oxymoron. Like, why would you go through all the work of apparently planning and then perfectly infilling actions on and then exfilling only to chuck a rifle to be seen off the side of the road? And now, do I think he's a psychopath? For sure. It typically takes that kind of personality to be unaffected. Either
to go get some chicken nuggies at Dairy Queen a few hours later, maybe.
Have to be a train operator or a psychopath.
Or both.
Or both.
It's a blurry line there.
To effectively pull something off like that. But I also think for people to operate like that in their own little world without help, and you could take the Trump assassination, attempted Trump's assassination as well as an example, would be super unlikely. I mean, the biggest controversy is obviously the JFK assassination. To think that Oswald alone was a lone gunman with no help and coordination after he travels to Russia. Like, what? Like, so I'm afraid the further away we get from it, every day that we get away from it, the more it becomes a conspiracy and the less it becomes confirmable. And I just think it's ass backwards.
Yeah, it is ass backwards. And we're going to drop in here real quick with Candace to remind ourselves what she said about allegedly how the rifle was found. And it's interesting to me because I went to the place where the rifle was allegedly found, and I've stood there. I have footage of it. I've seen the place where the rifle was found, allegedly. And this is interesting.
You know, I love details. I'm a detail-oriented person, and these ones are fun and curious, okay? So the story goes, you remember the story goes that the police officers found the gun in a wooded area. Now, immediately.
And I've heard this same exact allegation from other people's other law enforcement sources from on the ground in Utah, not through Candace Owens in the past. Not in quite so much detail before.
And let's release the bomb dogs in that exact area where ultimately the gun is going to later be discovered.
So she alleges that her sources in law enforcement there tell her that they canvassed the area completely and swept it and didn't find the gun. And then they released the bomb dogs to look for the gun.
The bomb dogs didn't turn up with anything. And here is why that fact alone is remarkably suspicious, according to the police officers that were involved.
According to the police officers that were involved. She's not making that up. She very much has spoken to law enforcement there to tell her this story. And she explains how dogs are the most advanced technology, I'm sure you've seen it, at finding things like gunpowder, trace residue of explosions.
And came up dry. Until, fast forward, so many miracles in this story, fast forward to when the feds arrive after the dogs fail to the corner with you dogs, and the feds are here. The federal officers are going around and asking officers weird questions like, oh, how long have you been on the police force? And what happens then is that federal officers direct 3 police officers who I'm told between the 3 of these officers, they had less than a year and a half on the force, okay? Like these.
Which is interesting that they happen to choose all the newbies to go find the rifle.
Officers are pretty spanking brand new, just like everything else in the story. And the federal officers specifically direct them, check again over yonder. Check again yonder, right over there, because I just don't trust that super high-grade technology of a dog's nose that we have. And you, sir, you 3, go and see if there could be something over there. We can't trust those 100,000 times stronger noses. You're human. Take on the task. And guys, you're not going to believe me. The nose that's trained to pick up gunpowder, explosive, combustible material, they get an F. But lo and behold, these police officers, bam, there it is, the gun. We've got the weapon. Woo! There's no cheating here. We nailed it. We might as well get rid of these dogs, right? It's completely useless to have these dogs around.
Yeah. So that's pretty freaking interesting. That's quite the allegation. Unconfirmed. I don't know how, I can't confirm it. But that's pretty suspicious. And today, actually, I should pull this up. Today, Liz Wheeler, Zio Shill, was on X talking about how Candace Owens acts like nobody who thinks Tyler Robinson is guilty is basing it solely only on the text message chain. She neglects to mention the strongest evidence against Tyler Robinson is Robinson's DNA linking him to Charlie's murder. DNA consistent with Robinson's was found on the trigger, other parts of the rifle, the fired cartridge casing, 2 of the 3 unfired cartridges, and the towel, all of which are in the gun package, which allegedly was planted. That's what that allegation was, is that the rifle was planted, obviously. Very convenient. Very convenient. It's no mystery why Tyler Robinson's personal weapon would have a little bit of his DNA on it. It's no mystery why Tyler Robinson's towel would have his own DNA on it. Now, the bullets and the casings, that might be, that is suspicious. That's interesting. Maybe he was actually engraving or drawing on bullets. That would be pretty suspicious. And that would lend credibility to Tyler Robinson being involved in this shooting. But it feels pretty sloppy to me. It feels pretty Fed sloppy to me. So let's check back in with Mike Glover, because boy, does Mike have some allegations, some new allegations.
And I could say this. The day after, I talked to a high-level CIA official. Very high. And he told me, I don't even know if I should say it.
I think you should absolutely say it.
He told me
say it
that the FBI is not cooperating with him.
Chat thinks it's Joe Kent. Could be. I don't know if Joe Kent is technically CIA right now. I think technically he's ATF.
And
or is he deputy?
He is trying to corroborate potential foreign influence and was getting blocked out of every opportunity to confirm or deny that. And it was written off as no foreign influence.
Joe Kent is National Counterterrorism Director. I don't know if that counts as CIA.
Less than 48 hours in. And this guy has access to the President of the United States.
Let's say this one more time.
Operating with him. And he is trying to corroborate potential foreign influence and was getting blocked out of every opportunity to confirm or deny that. and it was written off as no foreign influence less than 48 hours in. And this guy has access to the President of the United States. And so for that to be said from the guy and asking me if I had anybody that I knew on the inside to be able to get information because he wasn't allowed to access it, I'm like, why are you calling me?
Isn't that wild? High-level CIA, one of the top people at CIA, is calling up retired Green Berets, asking them if they have intel because he's not allowed to get intel. And this is just days after the shooting, which also confirms that right after the shooting, I've heard this from so many directions and so many good sources, that right after the shooting, tons of people high up in the Trump administration, in the intelligence apparatus, immediately said the suspect is foreign governments. And we all know which ones. That has been reported from so many directions that suspicion dropped into everyone's smart's minds at places like CIA, counterterrorism, DOJ, whatever. And this corroborates that. But it also adds that the FBI was blocking all of that.
Tells me everything that I need to know.
Well, so to me, here's where I don't understand that, is that you have, Trump's hand-picked guy running the FBI, right? And so if this guy has access to Trump also, isn't that at odds? Like, why would the FBI being,
good
headed
questions
by Trump's hand-picked guy not be cooperating with somebody who also has access to Trump? Like, where is the conflict?
That's the first question I ask, and what I got was,
Ought to be fine. Says the guy. Says the guy on the other side of the fucking interview.
What I was told was the guy's already bought.
Let's hear this one more time. He's talking to a extremely senior CIA officer. Access to the president. One of the most senior intelligence officials in the land. And that person says that Cash is blocking other agencies' investigations into foreign involvement in this case. He asks, isn't that fucking weird? And that high-level CIA person, the CIA of all agencies, the people that specialize in compromising people, etc., that person said that Cash Patel has been bought. A Cash? Now that is a spicy allegation. And Dan Glover's not making the allegation. He's just saying, Mike Glover. I was just looking up Dan over here. Mike's just saying that that's what he was told. He's just sharing his anonymous source. And you make up your own mind about what you think about Cash Patel based upon what you've seen Cash Patel doing over the last several months. What you've seen Cash Patel doing around the Epstein files. But don't criticize his girlfriend, Alexis Wilkins, or you might get sued by Cash's lawyers, weirdly enough.
And
which guy's already bought?
The FBI.
By somebody outside of the president?
Don't know who that is, but basically he's
probably Madagascar. I mean, if you look at what Cash has done, he's basically an eternal Madagascar shill. I bet he's covering everything up for Madagascar. Don't you?
Already been so heavily influenced by outsiders that it's a very good question that you would have a hand-picked cabinet member from the DOJ, the head of the FBI, and then a hand-picked cabinet member for an intelligence organization not being able to interoperate together. Why would you block them out? Well, one, if you were trying to compete with them and you wanted to be the person that was positioning your organization to be above the rest, Like, why would we need the CIA? Because the FBI runs the show. This is a domestic terrorist threat. But have you confirmed or denied that there's any foreign influence? Yeah, we did that. How can you do that in 48 hours? You can't do that, is the answer, in 48 hours. So it's either external influence or a combination of that and protecting your organization because you are the show. And on game day, as it was advertised, again, in post press conferences, they did everything right.
Yeah. We have a podcaster running the FBI. Totally uncompromised podcaster running the FBI. Totally straight and narrow. It's going great. Epstein totally killed himself. Never even trafficked anyone to anyone. Why would you even think otherwise? Are you anti-Semitic?
Or did they? I mean, I don't know the answer to that, but what I do know is when the CIA is getting blocked out of even investigating foreign influence days after it happened without a proper investigation or without even cooperation with a proper investigation, that is a massive problem.
Agreed. And I guess, if I'm in your shoes and I'm speaking with this higher up CIA guy that's telling me this, but who also has access to the president, the way my mind immediately, or where my mind immediately goes, is why wouldn't you tell the president then that that's taking place? And maybe he has, but if he has, and the president isn't either A, doing something about it or making coordination happen, to me, you can deductively reason then that would imply that the president has a part in it too, no? I mean, or am I missing something?
Bro is asking the right fucking questions.
Well, I think what I've gotten so far, and this has been a culmination of...
Someone in the chat asked, who's the podcaster? It is Mike Ritland, the Mic Drop podcast. It's two mics sitting down. It's Mike Ritland and Mike Glover. Drop a subscribe on him and support this work.
Gabbard and many other people, including Sarah Adams and Khalid, these intel experts that focus on understanding what's going on.
The rest of this clip actually is not as relevant, so we're going to skip to this one.
But I guess more specifically on your CIA contact, the FBI, and the president.
Because Mike comes back and he's like, whoa, let's just clarify this president shit. Let's just clarify this president shit real quick because this is important.
I guess if you can help me understand.
I think they tried. I think he tried.
Well, so again,
nobody's listening.
Well, I mean, but doesn't that tell you quite a bit, though?
Tells me a lot.
It's like, so then wouldn't the president either know something or have some involvement? Again, just deductive reasoning. It's like, well, if you tell somebody there's a problem and nothing changes, why would nothing change?
I haven't actually watched this clip yet, but I bet it's relevant. I'd bet it's a good time to watch this clip that my boys sent over.
Recognize the Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights. And that's one they didn't even ask me. And I signed the Golan Heights, the rights to the Golan Heights over to Israel. Nobody thought that was possible to get. They've been working on it for 70 years, Mark. All they talked about was the Golan Heights, right, Jason? And nobody ever did anything, but I did it, and we did it quickly, and I say, good luck to you. Then I found out the value of it, trillions of dollars. It could be worth, if you think, trillions of dollars. I said, maybe I should have asked him for something. But with Jared Kushner's help, Jared has been a great fan of Israel, the Kushner family.
Yeah. And that's just one of many. We got lots of recent videos of Trump professing his dedication to Israel, his eternal dedication to Israel.
Let me expand on this a little bit. That person sent several employees.
Miriam Adelson. You want to come up, Miriam? Come up here, Miriam.
Sorry, I just couldn't help myself.
Miriam gave my campaign, indirectly and directly, $250 million. She was number one. When somebody can give you $250 million, I think that we should give her the opportunity to say hello. And Miriam, make it quick, because $250 million is not what it used to be. Okay?
That's so funny. Oh my gosh, what a funny joke, you
Incredible
fucking
woman.
asshole.
With a great husband, a man that loved Israel.
Yeah. Totally American interests. Right? Totally American interests. Dual loyalty? Don't ask that question. Don't even talk about dual loyalty, you fucking racist. You anti-Semites.
Is to analyze, assess, and investigate that information in which they have access to. They sent them from D.C. to Provo, Orem, Utah, 30 minutes down the canyon from my house, and all of them were denied access and told to turn around and get back on the plane and fly away. So it wasn't just words and blockading or ignoring phone calls. It was a deliberate and intentional turnaround, which is one of the main reasons when I talk about it on Survival Dispatch, I think it is a massive issue that is nearly like the Epstein issue, where there's so much convolution and corruption involved in all of the information that it ever released would cause all this controversy, which is why the full GFK picture has not been presented as promised.
Someone in chat just asked, I don't get it. Is it money? Is it blackmail? How do you control this many people this completely? Could be both. Could be threats. Could be threats. Where are all of Kash Patel's relatives? I don't know. Do any of Kash Patel's relatives live in India? Because it'd be pretty easy to hold a threat over relatives that live abroad. I think blackmail is a highly likely candidate, in my personal opinion, just my opinion. When you look at Kash Patel, I think that man looks blackmailable as fuck. Yeah. But I think it's different for everybody, and it's extremely complex. It's a complex web. Shame is how you do that. Yes. And shame on them. Shame on them.
The full MLK picture, RFK picture has not been fully divulged as promised. It's because they're trying to protect us. That's their justification from the information, because it's a need to know, and we don't have a need to know.
Dude, that's terrifying.
Scary. I think it is.
Yeah, I mean, like if your connection at the CIA is communicating that to the president and it's still not being fixed, that says a lot.
When Charlie was the guy that got him into office. That's dark. Like, when you really think about the implications of all the things we've talked about just today, and the people that are lying and the people that are covering it up, it gets really dark really fast. And I just keep thinking about what Candace said is like, was Charlie's life the Truman Show? Was anyone around Charlie real? At all? And the more you actually learn about politics and meet politicians and meet the journalists and meet the people that are, in this mainstream world, the more you realize that is the rule, not the exception.
Yeah. I mean, especially about the Charlie Kirk thing, because there's only one reason that I can think of that you would possibly not fix that problem, and it's that if you didn't want that problem to be fixed.
I am not suicidal. I've done Ibogaine and psilocybin, and in no way would I ever do anything to self-harm myself.
Well, same here, for the record.
Yeah.
So the $1 million question or questions, do you think the identified shooter actually did it?
The $6 million question, did Tyler Robinson do it?
And or do you think there was foreign involvement? I don't know if you've followed up with any of the stuff that Candace Owens has been putting out.
Yeah, I do.
Of late about potentially some French connection or that there was a foreign connection of some sort. What do you think happened? Do you have a theory?
My theory is he was the shooter, but there's a lot more involvement, including foreign adversaries. Look, for people to write off the idea that there is no foreign influence at all in this particular case does not understand history or the world we live in today. Having worked for the CIA, having worked for Special Operations Command at senior positions, briefing generals and deputy directors of the agency and a lot of influential politicians, being a person who advocated for the military's position in Libya, in Benghazi, and talking to members of Congress in investigations of all this, a whistleblower myself, blacked out on Fox News post Benghazi, saying that the military could have responded with Adam Housley. 100% foreign influence is likely the framework of how these things happen. Whether it was the Trump attempted assassination or our assassination in Utah that killed Charlie Kirk, it's likely the case that there was some foreign influence in some way.
Yeah, that sounds about right. How far are we? What's our timing here? Cool. I think I have a clip here where he actually gives the opposite perspective on the bullet, that he thinks it's very possible that a 30-06 was used and caused the damage that we more or less know. I sort of doubt that he would agree with the leaked autopsy. I bet that he would, my guess, just guessing, that he would think that autopsy probably sounds like bullshit. But at this point, who fucking trusts that autopsy? So I think Mike actually is a strong witness or expert testimony to the other side of the bullet theory. I'm not sure if that's in this clip or not.
Was it an asset that was inside the chat groups that he was in, who recruited him, influenced him, and then pushed him to do it, who offered him material support? That's my theory.
I think that Lance Twiggs was the target of that, far more likely than Tyler Robinson. Lance Twiggs is the one that has the profile that you go after on the internet. Lance Twiggs is the unstable one. Lance Twiggs is the one that disappeared. Lance Twiggs is the one that's being protected. Lance Twiggs is far more suspicious in terms of the groomed asset, possibly the blackmailed, extorted, threatened part of this thing, than Tyler. To me, Tyler looks like the one that got snared by Lance Twiggs, one way or another. Whether he did so willingly and knowingly, or whether he got duped, or whether he just got straight up framed. Because the other thing that Lance Twiggs has is access to the gun, access to the home, access to the towel, access to all of Tyler's shit, access to Tyler's computers and phones probably had the passwords. At least I wouldn't be surprised if he did. And Lance Twiggs, gone, disappeared. He's a witness for the state, I guess. But we're not going to look into whether he was involved because of those text messages. Those are going to absolve him of guilt. Really? The actual trans one? The one that actually, apparently, allegedly was a total fucking psychopath? Yeah. Lance Twiggs feels like a very significant part of this whole thing. And yeah, I see in the chat, I wouldn't be surprised if we never see Lance Twiggs alive again. Because if you sever that connection, you effectively jettison Tyler Robinson into the wind, and you put the fear of God in him. If he catches wind that might have happened, if he can't get a hold of Lance, yeah, that's the kind of thing that might make a person like Tyler shut the fuck up. Possibly.
I think that's what happened. And people would say, well, that's not the case. Twitter just unlocked the ability for you to see where the accounts and the tweets are coming from. And would it surprise you that a lot of the vicious, toxic, volatile conversations that are created from the origin point are coming from overseas adversaries? Now, if you said that, you'd be like, yeah, I think that's the case. If I showed you where they're geolocated and tagged on Twitter, then would you believe me? If I unpacked the Twitter files and showed you all the political convolution between the government and private companies to suppress your voice, including mine and yours, on YouTube and social media, would you believe me? If I showed it, would you believe me?
Oh, we believe you, bro. You don't got to show us shit. We believe you. We're in the middle of it.
It's all there. And I'm inclined to believe that that's what happened.
Any thought, guess, theory as to what foreign state-sponsored actor or organization?
Gives an interesting answer here. And I don't know if his answer is him trying to not just say Israel, or if it's his like legitimate full-on answer, because a lot of times military guys have a much more broad perspective on global threat profiles of big nations, and through their experience in the military often, are more aware of these big nations' threat profiles and are more willing to see them as adversaries because they lived through a long experience of sort of the military posture towards those adversaries. But this is an interesting answer that's not what I would have expected if he's been following the story.
I think, and we know this for a fact, that Russia, China, North Korea, and Iran are closer in talking, engaging, and working together than ever before in history.
But I didn't want to cut off his answer and like cherry pick it to only show clips that support my narrative. I wanted to show his clip here and his perspective on this. But I'm sorry, man. Like, you think Russia, Iran, all of them were trying to kill Charlie Kirk? Out of all the things they could have spent this political capital on, this assassination capital on, as opposed to the nation he was sort of about to turn on, the nation that he was completely changing face on. The one that had offered to take him to the next level and he turned them down. The one that he most certainly had all sorts of dirt on. Dang, Stacy, thanks for the subs.
A lot of that because of the severing of diplomatic ties under the Biden administration. I think it's everything they do. I think they have a joint task force, and I can't prove this. I haven't had intel that reports this, but I believe if you're the bad guy, if you're the adversary, you work together.
And that statement is exactly true for the deep state, the global Western deep state of deep, entrenched pieces of the CIA, the NSA, the FBI, Mossad, other Israeli intelligence services, 8200, private assets scattered all around the globe that work with these dark elements of those groups. I bet that Saudi intelligence has been in and out of there over the years. I bet there's a number of other nations and agencies in sort of splintered factions within the intelligence apparatus of a lot of the big nations, France, that are probably in that sort of deep state networking, decentralized, organized criminal cabal of permanent stateless governance.
And when you work together, you have a combined joint task force that puts all your resources together and you tackle it. And their strategic plan at the table is to burn America to the ground from the inside. And they're doing a really good job at doing it.
Troubling times in the kingdom.
Troubling times in the kingdom. Yeah. So I think that we're going to let that sit for Mike. And we're going to lastly revisit our girl Erica. Back where this all started, with Candace talking to Erica and trying to unpack why would Candace take this posture with Erica? Was she bought out? Was she compromised? No, she wasn't. And she watches all this reporting. It's just not her place to do it. She doesn't have the positioning and posturing to investigate Erica like this, and she's very wise not to. For that matter, I've not been super critical of Erica either because I don't know what the truth is, and I've got other things to pay attention to and to dig into, and everyone's noticing this kind of stuff. This stuff is coming out one way or another. You can't hide this kind of shit. And this kind of shit is pretty wild. So we'll go to our boy James Lee for some context.
And Cabot Phillips. I don't know about you, but that look.
Erica Kirk's backstory has just been exposed as a giant lie. Allegedly.
When I lived out here, I was here for 5 years. I never dated here because I saw vicariously through my roommate how terrible it was. I don't drink. I find it unproductive.
We don't know for sure if she wasn't drinking, but she did really enjoy posing with alcoholic beverages. Here's her with a glass of champagne. It says, "It's Wednesday, so treat yourself to a little champagne." And did she really not date while she lived in New York City? Well, here's a photo that the internet sleuths dug up from September of 2017 with one Cabot Phillips, and the caption said, "Yes, we're that couple who gets painting lessons together." And here you could see Erica Francevy and Cabot Phillips. I don't know about you, but that looked like a little bit more than just a one-off date. It looked like they were an actual couple, as the caption said. But interestingly, Cabot Phillips was actually at one point Charlie Kirk's producer, and he's now a senior editor at the Daily Wire. And just yesterday, December 16, 2025, he gave a talk about, quote, how to lead like Charlie. You gotta understand, I am not from this world of media, and I think all this kind of incestuity is weird to me. So not only do we now know that she was dating before Charlie, which is fine, it's a totally normal thing to do, but she was also engaged, perhaps even married. Luna Bear Studios posted this on March 16, 2015, prepping another couple's gallery for delivery. Erica Francevy and JT Massey, you both are amazing humans and I love shooting you. So much laughter and love. It was perfection. This is what happens when your entire image is propped up by something that just is not true. If you are not this woman, don't pretend to be. But the bigger point is, why does Erica have to lie about this? Is it just for her to prop up this image that she is a conservative woman, quote unquote? Because you can't hide this kind of stuff. The internet is undefeated.
Erica Kirk's backstory has just been...
Yeah. So I'm just going to let James be the one that speaks on that one, because ain't that interesting? If you're really paying attention, if you've really got your tinfoil out, there's a lot of other subtle stuff that indicates about a lot of people in this story that I got some questions about. I got some real questions about. But the internet's just doing its thing. We're just asking questions. And every new thing that gets put on the record adds to the ledger of statements of fact, of potential lies, of potential obfuscation. And every day to me, it looks more and more like a cover-up. And the response, the media response, the influencer response to that cover-up, to push that cover-up, to shame people that are asking questions, to shame journalists for doing journalism, it just gets more and more obvious every day. So that's where we stand. That's how I feel. I'm going to be watching Candace's every episode this week. I don't think you should take Candace's episodes as gospel truth. Do not be a cult. Don't just worship Candace. Candace is fallible. She's just a woman. She's just doing her best. Just think for yourself. Listen to what she says. Think critically. Do your own research. Look at other sources. See what the opposition says. And stay rational and make your own judgments. But always remember, in the modern information space, that there are complex manipulation tactics being used. There are complex bot campaigns. There's complex disinformation campaigns. There's paid influencers. There's subversion at every level. Don't trust anyone. Think very carefully. And when you see narratives build with immense power out of nowhere, ask questions. Ask who's pushing this narrative. What is this narrative? Where did this narrative come from? Why are all these shills pushing it? Why are all these big Zio accounts pushing the same talking points right now today? right? Think about the negative space. And think about the positions that all of the journalists are in and what they can and can't say, what they might and might not know. Because it's a delicate balance out here. So, hopefully you all have your own opinions. I have my own opinions. I try my best to delineate when I'm sharing my opinions versus when I'm sharing information, evidence, and facts. I'm doing my best to learn in this environment how to do this job and how to do it in this environment and how to maintain integrity, but it's hard. It's complicated. I'm learning a lot. We're all fallible, right? Except for Israel. Israel is infallible, obviously. So that is the end of our main show for today. That's the end of our main thread that we're going to line up. I need to take a quick bathroom break. I might see if DG needs to go out. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to let you guys watch Valhalla for a second. If you want to hang out, if you need to go and do stuff, that's cool too. If you want to hang out and watch Valhalla for a few minutes, I'll put him on, and then I will be right back after that. And we'll do a little bit more of a hangout, a little bit more of a chat. I'll take some questions. We can kind of go wherever you guys want to go. Maybe we'll watch some more stuff. I've got time, so I can do another, 30 minutes to an hour maybe at the most. So we'll see what happens. But for now, thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for sharing it with your friends. Thanks for being an awesome homie. And if that's it for you, then I'll see you on the next one. And if you want to, stick around after the break, and I'll see you on the other side. Let me get our boy queued up. And I will be right back.
We got a new whiskey sponsor. Actually stoked about it. Legitimately. We're going to be off the gas station booze, guys.
You want to go?
Badass company called Heritage Distillery that works with Green Berets. It's a very cool company. Anyway, they just showed up. All right, let me get back to what I was doing. We'll talk about that in future episodes. So again, Tyler Robinson. Here he is. Well, is this him? Look, I don't know. I don't know, guys. This is the best we have. This is like every goddamn 22-year-old white college kid that exists looks like this. But again, nothing here. We know here as we move forward, nothing in the jeans, nothing up the back. That was another thing. It was like, it was halfway down his legs, and then the gun was coming up his back, and that's why we couldn't see it. There's no 30-06 here. This tiny little backpack. Look at this thing. This little 20-inch backpack that supposedly he's got a 44-inch 30-06 broken down into 3 pieces that somehow is fitting in this, even though it probably, I don't know how long a Mauser barrel is. I'm assuming around like 22 inches. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. Not going to fit in here. This backpack's not big enough to fit a broken down 30-06. It's just not. Objectively, right? Here we go. Here's the other one. So remember we showed you, and this is how I'm proving this with the legs. You see the left leg? See the big bend here? There's no way you could have a gun there, even a small caliber gun. You couldn't even fit an AR-15 there. Okay, we see the back. Then we also see the left leg here? The left leg bent at a 90 degree. So we've seen both the right leg, both the left legs bent at a 90 degree. You couldn't do this with the 30-06 here. Your leg wouldn't bend. We've seen that it's not up his back. We have objectively proved whoever this person is. This isn't my opinion. This is objective based off of this footage. If this is who supposedly went to the roof, he does not have a 30-06 with him. This is not up for discussion. This isn't my opinion. This is objectively true. This guy, whoever he is, does not have a 30-06 with him. Maybe at best case is he's got a broken down AR-15. Still would be tight. But we know this person, and again, here's another one of him from the front. You can see his phone. Hey, this tiny little phone here looks like probably a Samsung Galaxy even. There's no 30-06. Also, does this even look like him? I mean, to me, I'm not even sure it fucking looks like him at all. Like this doesn't even fucking look like Tyler Robinson. Hold on. Let me, Let's pull this up. Court pictures. It's not, dude, it's completely different colored hair. This kid has light brown hair. Pull this. Look at his hair.
And the country, even the world watching as Charlie Kirk's accused us.
Listen to these people. Come on, give me a better picture. Hold on, let me find a better picture of old Tyler here. Stand by one. Because this actually I think is important. That kid in that picture has black fucking hair. Black hair. And Tyler Robinson has light brown hair. I can actually pull this up right here. God damn it, so they're all fucking videos. I don't want videos. I want pictures. Hold on, let's do this. Is that going to do it? Okay, here we go. So this is Tyler Robinson. This dude has light brown hair. Okay. Now let's go back to the picture of the dude we just saw. Whoever this guy is.
Yup, Nate. That's a good point.
This dude has black hair. Legitimately. Awkward. And this is good enough. I can see the pigmentation color of his skin.
Remember to drink water, eat healthy food, do healthy things for yourself, tell people you love them, be nice, be the kind of person that you'd want your nation to be made out of. And all together, we'll hopefully pull this shit back out from hell and hopefully at least fix the world a little bit for our kids. So I appreciate you all for being here, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.
Conspiracy theories are entering a dangerous
Information is the oxygen of the democracy.
There's so much evidence out there that even if less than 1% is true, that would be enough to